anybody's on, I want to show something to you. I got a new camera bag. Isn't that the cutest thing? I usually use this, and it has a strap, like a longer strap, but I usually use a fanny pack, a green fanny pack that's over 20 years old. And my kids know this is my thing. You might see it in some of the pictures from my trip last year on my blog. But so I was so excited to find that. It's really, really cute. It has a little pocket for everything. So that was fun. So I share that with you. But I'm doing a parasite update today. Couple of different things. I have been feeling better, but I have been taking the multivitamins and I have been grinding them. I bought a new coffee grinder for that. And I've been spending time in the sun. And so I think all of those things, plus I did some more research and I learned some more things this week. So it's been a good week as far as trying things and researching those things. So I had somebody write on one of my posts, and I appreciate when people share, because then I try it and I see if it works for me. And when I say it works or it doesn't work for me, doesn't mean it won't work for you. I'm just, and everything I share in the video, I have to do the disclaimer. It's just what I've tried and works for me or doesn't work for me. I'm not prescribing, I'm not diagnosing. I'm just telling you this is what it is and how it is in case science wants to study it. And since I'm the only person that's been diagnosed that speaks English that I know of, I'm going to do it. So somebody suggested that I try ground cinnamon from the kitchen cabinet with liquid magnesium. And I tried that. I tried it on me and I tried it on somebody else. On somebody else, I tried, so I mixed it up in a little bottle, and they didn't say how much to put in or anything. So I just kind of mixed it as I thought. And several people in my family have a problem with cinnamon. And like if they eat cinnamon suckers, flavor suckers, or they like swell a little bit, turn red. But I've never seen them have a problem with this kind of cinnamon, except, and I didn't think this would burn the skin, but she's got super sensitive skin anyway. So I put it on where she's got some of the rashy stuff, and it actually was burning her skin. She said it had too much cinnamon in it. But I left it on there for a while, and I used a rubber glove and I just kind of smoothed in the cinnamon so it wasn't just like in one spot. And it caused her to have red marks on her skin, and it wasn't good. So hi, thank you, Sharon, for joining in. Yes, I do have problems with parasites in my hair and scalp. And some of my other videos, I do talk about that. Let me finish with the cinnamon thing, and then I'll get back to that. So, so I tried it on her, and it got red, and it really hurt her, and it wasn't good. So I tried it on me, and I didn't see anything. And like it didn't make it. I used it where I have the biofilm, so I know that there's some parasites, and nothing came up, nothing felt. It stung a little bit, but I've got pretty not sensitive skin that way to cinnamon anyway, and so that didn't work. But what I did try is I have all different kinds of ionic minerals. Now I know that our soil is copper and zinc. We don't have it, and I have these. But when it seems like when I take one thing, it causes a problem with me needing something else. So like with calcium or like vitamin D, you need zinc and vitamin K to absorb it. So if I take zinc and I don't take the D and the K, then I have a problem and I'm leaching and I have problems with balance that way. So what I found is I just use a multivitamin instead of that way. I try to assimilate everything together. But I do have all these ionic minerals, and so we tried all of those directly on the skin, and left them for a few minutes to see if any of them alone on the skin would make the parasites come up, and none of them did. So I don't think that's didn't work for me, but apparently somebody else, one of my viewers, it did work for them, and that was something that they suggested. So feel free to try it. I'm not telling you to try it, and be aware that it did burn a little bit on me, and it did cause red kind of welt type thing. It didn't cause any scarring or flaking of the skin or anything like that, but it just did burn her a little bit. So Sharon, yes, I do have the little sores, and I was going to talk about this anyway because I colored my hair. So with the parasites, the peroxide soaks and things like that always irritate them. It always kills them. It always drives them, whatever. So because I color my hair every 3-4 weeks, it keeps them down a little bit with the peroxide that I put in my hair. And so, but I've noticed that as my situation gets worse and I have more parasites, that that they're getting more in between the hair colorings. And so I do really feel really good for a couple of days right after I do my hair. But for the first time when I was coloring my hair last night, I put the peroxide on my head, and now I've shared that I can feel them burrowing in my teeth, and that my neighbor and my mother and my father and other people in my family, their teeth have gone kind of a yellow black, and actually some of them have fallen out. So I'm worried about them in my teeth. So I'll take stuff in my mouth, cinnamon oil or something, things like that, to keep them out of my teeth root area. If I can feel them burrowing, I immediately take some oils and put them on my gums and in my teeth. So, but last night when I didn't have anything in my mouth. I wasn't feeling anything in my teeth. I didn't have anything in my teeth. I put the peroxide on my hair, and immediately within a minute, I could feel several of the parasites burrowing away from my teeth and away. So the peroxide on my head up here was causing them to burrow away out of my head. You know, when you put something on your skin is your largest organ, right, of your body. And when you touch chemicals, you can taste them in your mouth. Or when you get a shot that has chemicals in it, you can taste them in your mouth almost immediately. That's kind of what happened. So I put that peroxide on my head, and immediately you can kind of taste, the hair, whatever stuff in your mouth. And the parasites went crazy. And that's the first time I felt it like that. I mean, I'll eat something or do something and they don't like it, or take the oils and they'll burrow away. But the fact that it was on my head and I was putting the peroxide on my head, and boy, my head was just super irritated. They were just scrambling all over on my scalp, not just in my mouth area, but they were just scrambling all over. It was the worst I've ever had. So I just know that my parasite load is getting worse. But yeah, a lot of people write me about the weird hair moving and they can feel the burrowing under their skin. And that's what I shared when I first did, before I knew the diagnosis that I have of this horsehair worm. I could feel them creeping underneath my skin. And when I just felt to do that peroxide soak, if you haven't, Sharon, watched the one on my parasite playlist, that you can see like dots on my hand, and I do a peroxide soak. And with that peroxide soak, you can feel them when you put the peroxide on, or you soak them and you take it out and you let it dry. You can feel like it drying, and that's normal. And you can feel a little bit of tingle, and that's normal. But after a few minutes, you'll feel like you can feel something moving under your skin, and your hair will stand on end, and then the bumps will come up under your skin. So it's like the parasites are burrowing to the surface. And if you pop the parasites out, I don't suggest that anybody do this because it did cause scabs on my hands. But when I popped the parasite out, you could see like a burrow trail underneath, like you would if you had a sliver in your finger or your hand and you pulled it out. You would see a burrow trail, or like a little trail where the sliver was. You would see burrow trails where the parasites were burrowing up. Now, I haven't done peroxide soaks in years now. They're very painful because of that, the way they all come to the surface, and you can feel your hair move. It is painful, but I do feel with the parasites, and I think, like I shared before, with the peroxiding and everything in my head, and I was using some kind of really, really high quality colloidal silver in my eyes to try and keep them out of my eyes because they're affecting my eyes. And in my mouth, I'll use the essential oils, and especially rosemary in the thieves oil will keep them out of the mouth. So I want to share this before I forget. So the other day I shared in one of the other videos how I felt one a couple weeks back. It woke me up in the night in the back of my eyeball, and it was the creepiest thing. Well, this last week I felt one burrowing in my shoulder blade. Like you could feel like it was burrowing towards the front of my body, and it was at the back side of my shoulder blade, and it hit the shoulder blade and it didn't know where to go. So I could feel it burrowing around on the back. It woke me up, and it was so disturbing that I could feel this long worm burrowing against my shoulder blade, trying to find a way through to the front of the body. It was so disturbing. It was very, very upsetting to feel that. So I did feel it burrowing that. So I'm jumping back that. But so I do feel them at night, and I don't have a lot of sores like other people have because I peroxide my hair regularly, but I do every once in a while get the sores at the back of my neck where they'll kind of burrow out. But when I change my bedding, you can watch the video where I put diatomaceous earth on the bedding, and people got upset by that because the diatomaceous earth can get in the air and it can hurt your lungs, but these parasites are hurting my lungs anyway. So I go ahead and I put diatomaceous earth on the back of my neck, and I put it on my pillows at night. So when they burrow out, they get cut up and they don't come out. So that's one way to do it. Iodine will also keep them back, but since my hair is a light color, the iodine is orange, it will dye the hair orange. And so I don't put iodine on the back of my neck, but you can, if you have darker hair, put iodine on the areas where they're burrowing out and you have the sores on your scalp, and that will help keep them down as well. Okay, you spit glycerin and water mixed on your skin. It's sticky, but it seems to keep them down. Have to apply daily. Yes, I also have used, instead of glycerin, I've used castor oil and I use several different types. In fact, on one of my last updates videos, I think it was my last update video, I talk about all the different kind of oils I've used. So I've used coconut oil, and I've used tanning coconut oil, and I've used, it's a sports one. And so any kind of oil or glycerin or something will keep them down on the skin, but they do get sticky. And so sometimes what I'll do is I'll put the castor oil on, and then I'll put diatomaceous earth on top of it. Hi, Tammy. I am so sorry you've been through all of it. I know, we're all here together. It's so bad. But I have to share. So last video, I shared about haters, and I shared about how I just go ahead and I just block them and delete them. But several people, because I shared that, have written really super, super sweet posts. I mean, like, touch my heart, super sweet posts. And I want you to know that it means a lot to me that there's people out there who, I know most of my viewers are people who just, you don't want to be noticed. You have this parasite, people call you crazy. So you don't want to post on a parasite video and have people know that you have this, or that you think you have this, or whatever. And so I think a lot of the people that watch me don't post because of that. But a lot of people have said, I don't normally write posts, or I don't really comment on videos, which I personally don't either. A lot of videos, I very rarely will make a comment. I don't even thumbs up and thumbs down most of the time, which I have learned now. I thumbs up if I like it, because that helps YouTube decide how your videos get viewed or suggested. So I appreciate it when people thumbs up my videos just for that reason. And so I typically will just thumbs up a video, but I don't normally comment. But I really want you to know that it really means a lot to me to have people out there. And I don't care if you share in-depth stories, but I just appreciate you, Tammy, for just saying that you understand and not calling me crazy. And I'm okay with being called crazy, but it's when they get really mean about it that I don't like it. So, great. I'm taking a bunch of supplements. In the beginning of the video, I share that I've been doing better with the supplements, but feel free to write me on my YouTube channel. If you don't want to post them on a comment on my videos, then you can share it on my YouTube blog. My Parasite blog. It's thesecretisgratitude blog at gmail.com. That's exciting that it's working and they're passing. And are they coming back is what I want to know. So I was going to update you on something I've tried. The thing is it seems like when I kill them off, then they come back with a vengeance, and then I take it again, and it seems like it only works in certain life cycles. So I think it's working, and I think that happens with threadworm or strongyloides as well. The medication that they give you doesn't work so great on certain times. Like when they're in the lymph, it might work, but when they're in the lung, it doesn't work. And then when they're in the digestive tract, it'll work. So I've been trying something this week. I did notice a lot more burrowing, and I think that's probably why I felt that in my shoulder blade that I just shared about a minute ago when I was feeling it burrowing. And so please, Tammy, do share. If anything's working for you, share it. I have been taking a lot of things, and I'm doing a lot of research. So I'll share about my research first. So I have been researching a vitamin I didn't even know existed until last week. A friend of mine has been having some health problems and went to see endocrinologist, and she looks great. And I said, what's going on? And she said, well, the doctor prescribed her vitamin D2. And I have only heard of D3, D6, with other things, and I'd never heard of a D2. And has lost weight. She says she has more energy. Her skin's not cracking. Her hair's not as brittle, whatever. And so I was like, okay. So I started doing some research on this vitamin D2. So thank you to my friend who shared that with me. And it's hard to get D2 in a natural form. You don't get it and so you have to get a supplement. And they actually are prescription. For this D2 that she's taking. So I feel like that could be part of the answer for some of the problems that I have, because the last 3, I've always been vitamin D deficient. Every time the doctor has tested me, I'm vitamin D deficient. And I take the D in the oil form and I can't assimilate it. And so I shared in another video that I was taking a water soluble vitamin D and I was feeling pretty good about it, but I felt like it was throwing a balance off somehow. It was causing other problems. And I wasn't sure if it was that or some of the other supplements I was taking. So I started to research this vitamin D2. And I was finding that over 40% of the US is vitamin D deficient. And when they test depressed patients, like over 90% of the depressed patients are vitamin D deficient. And so the vitamin D is a big factor in this anxiety issues and depression issues and fatigue. And I noticed also in doing this vitamin D2, and they kind of combined them when I was researching. They don't specifically talk about D2, but they talk about D in general. High altitude affects people for vitamin D because the atmosphere, they get a different amount of vitamin rays from the sun. They get a different amount. Now, I've said for years when it would start to snow, I'd run to the tanning beds and get in the tanning beds and just get warm. And I couldn't get warm. And I have that still where in the middle of the day, I'm exhausted and I can't get warm. So I'll just climb in bed and turn my heating blanket on in my bed and just lay there until I can get warm. And this is the middle of the day when I should be having energy and whatever. So I really do think it has something to do with that. So I'm going to continue researching that vitamin D2 and see if I can do better. But I also think I'm doing better because I've been eating a lot of fish, and salmon is one of the highest sources of this D. But I can't do. Thank you, Tammy. I'm kind of trying to watch, and I want to come back to what you're saying, but I want to finish these thoughts because sometimes I get off track with that brain fog, and I know you guys understand exactly what I'm talking about. So I cannot take coconut oil because of my gallbladder and my yellow eyes. I have like a fatty liver issue. So if I take coconut oil or eat any kind of certain fats, my eyes get worse yellow. And I've noticed that with coconut's one of them. I actually literally, it will just go right through me if I eat any coconut oil. Even if I eat something that has a little bit of coconut oil in it, or if I eat something like peanuts that have a fat content, any kind of nuts, I can do a limited amount of certain types of nuts only. So I would love to do like more of that kind of thing, but I can't. So I think that's part of the reason I don't assimilate the vitamin D, because it's an oil form and I can't take it in. It just goes right through me. My doctor kept giving me vitamin D and telling me to take vitamin D, but every time I take it, I would just get toxic. I'm also have an issue with milk and dairy products. So I can't do the whey. I do the protein that I get. I usually do a vegetable protein. I can't do dairy protein and I can't do red meat protein. I only do fatty. I cut all the fat off of chicken and I'll eat skinless chicken, and I eat non-fatty fish. If I eat a really fatty fish, I don't do well. So I have done PWAY, and that's kind of what I do. I do the vegetable protein bars, and I do the vegetable protein shake and stuff. But the shake that I was taking was the isogenic shake, which is a vegetable protein. But I started having yeast problems, and I realized that they have selenium in the yeast form in there, and I was getting yeast in my mouth and I was getting yeast problems. So I had to stop taking the isogenic shakes. So my body is so sensitive anymore to certain things. I have a really hard time. And so it's frustrating for me because what is working for some other people is not working for me. So this is one of the products, and I'm only sharing this one because I think it probably does work, but it's not working very well for me. And it's because I don't do the alcohol. I have a reaction to the alcohol when they make tinctures. So I can't do like a Bach remedy because of the alcohol in it. And I can't do like that CBD oil I reported on a couple of months back is with an alcohol. And so I just have the hardest time with the tincture, but this one I think might work for some of you. So I wanted to share it. Okay, you guys are sharing a lot of stuff. This is awesome. Okay. The Cure Zone helped you. I think Cure Zone is a similar thing to this one. Yes, the ivermectin and a benzodal. Yeah, I tried those and I had a really hard time because the benzodal is really hard on the liver, and that's part of when this started with the yellow eyes. And it made my hair fall out. So, and it didn't kill them off. I was trying to alternate them, and I tried them different date times, and I tried more or less. My doctor was really good to help me just kind of try some different protocols for that. So I'm not doing a benzodal again if I can ever help it. That was really rough on my body. And I haven't tried papaya extract, Tammy, but I have done activated charcoal. In fact, I was doing activated charcoal a lot the last, I think I've shared a video about it. I was taking the activated charcoal quite a bit. And it was very helping detox a little bit. That charcoal was helping that way. I did notice that. But as far as the parasites, it didn't clear them out or anything. I didn't feel that, but I did feel it was helping me detox. I have tried papaya seeds and a fresh a lot, and they did seem to help a little bit, but not to the problem with a lot of these things is they kill, like the diatomaceous earth. I saw that you mentioned you taking that internally. When I take anything internally, it kills them off in the gut. It just causes them to hatch more, and they burrow out and cause problems in the other areas and like muscles and stuff. And even this did the same thing. I didn't feel it like killing them off in mass hordes or anything, but I think it killed off the ones in the gut, and now I'm having a regrowth. But I think if you could take this and the other one that she suggested, so I'm going to go into her protocol in a minute, that it might work for some people. So, wow, you guys are just really good. Ivermectin from Tractor Supply. I have to be really careful what I share on my channel because I don't want to get in trouble. And I don't want to have anybody have a reaction or something that I shared or did. So I know that somebody else is sharing I shared when one of my first videos when I have that pressure in my chest burrowing or that tightness when they're hatching in the lungs. I shared that I have hydrogen peroxide, but I don't want anybody to try it because if they cause a problem, like if they use it too much and they have a yeast overgrowth, it could give me I don't want to cause problems for people. So I always say, don't try this. I'm just telling what they have tried. Now, when I do huff the peroxide, I haven't done it in quite a while, but when I was having a lot of burning and a lot of pressure when they would all hatch at once, I did do that to get them down in my lungs. But I know other people take my videos and make their own videos and share it. And that's their liability and their problem. But because I'm a nurse and because I've have a medical background, I don't want to get in trouble that way. I don't want to lose my license. I'm just sharing. The only reason, and some of the stuff I don't even want to share, but I want to share it so that I can help other people know what worked and what didn't work. And so when I share it, I always give a disclaimer. Like at the very beginning of this, I give a disclaimer. A lot of this stuff doesn't work for me or does work for me. Like this one did in a way, but it didn't in another way. But it may work for you. So I want to share how it worked or didn't work for me so that you could try it if you feel like you could try it. I have another Tammy. It's Tammy squared today. Yeah, and I know a lot of people have tried the animal ivermectin and they say it's the same, but legally that I can't suggest that. You can suggest that, but legally I can't suggest that. My doctor has been really good to get me prescriptions for all of the things that I would need, and he's been really good to help me work out what dosages to try and take. Because this is an unknown entity, it's really hard because there's no protocol and there's no medical suggestion for this. The CDC doesn't have a recommendation. So he's been really good to help me try. And so I don't want to get anybody into trouble, and I don't want to make any suggestions, because what if somebody took it and they went and took the wrong amount of dosage and they killed their liver or something? I would feel really horrible about that. So I'm just sharing what works for me, and you guys can do what works for you. But so the castor oil and milk of magnesia. Now castor oil, they say isn't good internally. So are you saying to use that on your skin? So because castor oil can cause problems if you take it internally. So I use castor oil on my skin for my eyes and stuff, but internally it's not too good if you use it too much. So let's see. You have to take some of those every day. Yeah, I take with me if I take. I don't know if you've ever heard of the MTHFR factor. Now that's methyl. It's a really super long Latin name, but you can get it tested. There's a test for it, and what that shows is you can have a genetic defect of 1, or you can have a genetic defect of 2. And what that states is, or what that relates to in the body is, your body doesn't get rid of toxins very easily. So if you take something and you take too much of it, say like a little bit of B vitamins or vitamin C is not as bad because it usually gets out very easily. But if I take too much of one thing that is hard for the body to get rid of, it builds up and then I start to swell and I have problems. So even when I have die-off, the system can't get rid of the excess of the things because of this MTHF factor genetic defect. I only have 1, but some people have 2. And so if I take vitamins every day, even though it's a good thing, if my body has too much of them and they can't get rid of them, especially like B vitamins, they get toxic in the system and it can cause jitteriness and kind of like panicky attack kind of things. I haven't had the panic attacks, but my mother would. So if I give her vitamins every day, she would have a reaction to that. So be careful taking supplements every day if you're have a genetic problem with that way. And you would probably know by now whether you do or you don't have that factor. I call it the mother effer factor because people always forget what's the name of that test to test to see if I have it. So it's the MTH mother and father FR. So you can call it the mother father or the mother effer, however you want to remember it. I laugh because people go, oh, what was the name of that when I tell them it's the mother father one? But if I call it the mother effer, they start laughing and they're like, okay, I remember that. And then they'll go get themselves tested for it. So if you have an MTHFR factor, be careful taking anything every day. I usually take them every other day or every third day. Just if I start feeling tired, then I'll take them, because if I take them every day, then I have a problem like that. So let's see. Oh gosh, I am so sorry you have both threadworm and hookworm. That's a nightmare. Yeah, that's terrible. Yes, I have. Castor oil can be taken for constipation. That is true. But if you take it too often, it can cause problems. Let's see. Well, it better not take 3 years to get rid of this parasite. I want it gone way before now. Okay, in the ears, you have used hydrogen peroxide. You can put a couple of drops of hydrogen peroxide in your ears, but don't use Q-tips in your ears, because I think I had somebody write me this at the very beginning and I thought they might have been a little bit crazy, but I think there are the parasite eggs in the cotton that they use for the cotton balls and the cotton Q-tips. And I think that maybe a lot of people might be getting them from that. I don't know. So when I use a Q-tip, I put a piece of paper towel over it and then use it that way. I never put the cotton directly in my ear. The other thing is my brother used one in his ear and the cotton came off and got stuck in his ear and he had to go have it removed. But because this person wrote me and said, this was when I found one out of my ear and it was wiggling on the tip of the Q-tip. And so I don't ever use Q-tips on babies or anything about that either. In the nose, I use colloidal silver, a really good brand I like. It's called Solutions, i.e. RNA. They're 2 different names. I think you can look it up online and buy it from practitioners from different places. The practitioners can get it, like a chiropractor or whatever, and then sell it to you, or you can contact the company and see if you can get it directly. But that one, like I bought a big bottle of clear silver. It's like 50 micrograms per and teaspoon, and it had 50 parts per million. The one the RNA one is 350 per million per dosage, which is 12 sprays, so about the same, a teaspoon. So one has 350 and the other one has 50. So it is a little bit more expensive, but it works. And I've used it for, I have used it for at least 15 years. And I love it. So that colloidal silver I've used in my eyes, I've used it in my nose. When my mother was had sepsis in the ICU, I used it, and she had brain infections in her brain as well. And I used that silver in her eyes and everything, and it really helped her too. So I use that. Somebody has suggested that Head and Shoulders zinc before as well. And somebody else also suggested vinegar in a spray bottle in the shower. And the vinegar can be a little acidic, but it did work. It did get the biofilm off. So like I spray the vinegar on the body and then kind of let it sit. But I'm wondering if a Zicam up your nose would help, because that is zinc. So you might want to try the Zicam. I've never used that because I just, I'll just and sniff up some of the silver, and they don't like that. I would avoid essential oils up the nose because that could be really painful. However, you might want to you could put like a little bit of essential oils or Vicks. My mother used to use Vicks up her nose, and she had these. And so she would use Vicks Vapor Rub up her nose, which is eucalyptus. But that also kept him out. She could not sleep at night if she didn't put Vicks Vapor Rub up her nose and just kind of like rub it in her nose to keep him out of her nose. So that might also work. So that would be good. I'm glad you guys are sharing back and forth. This is awesome. Okay, so this thing, I'm hoping I finished everything. If I didn't, you guys remind me of something I need to go back to. So I went to a chiropractor, and he suggested this company. He dug through all of his papers and found this. This is a newer one than the one he had. The one he had was really, really old, but they're called Barlow Herbal from Sandy, Utah. And that's their blog, and they had a toll-free number, and I called the toll-free number, and this Jane answered, and she was so friendly and so helpful, and she emailed me and answered questions, and she was so sweet. Except let's see, her dad was Dr. Max Barlow, and they've used these for, I think he's passed away now, but they've been making these for over 40 years, I think is what the thing said when I was reading about it. But she was super sweet. And so I did tell her that I have a problem with tinctures, because I was really excited when I read about their 2 different Parasite products. And she, I want to get to it. Okay, where is it? Sorry, I had it in the other catalog that I gave back to the chiropractor. So I haven't looked at it in this one, so it's not open to the page that I ordered. Okay. Sorry, let me see if I can find the page, what the name of the other one is. Okay, so the chiropractor was suggesting this one, which is Clarkia. So it's Hulda Clark's Remedy tincture. And I guess her dad worked with her and another big herbal person. I can't remember who it was. If it's, who's the one that did my mind is so bad. Dr. Christopher, I think maybe is what I read. Don't quote me. It's been a minute because I've been doing lots of different researches. But they have a cayenne pepper one too that might be really good. But they have Paw d'Arco, which is really good for fungal infections. So if you have 2 different kind of infections, because I think this has got 2 different parasites. I think the parasite has a parasite. So where is it? Is it vermicide? There we go. Sorry, I should have had this page ready. Okay, so this is the Clarkia page, and their catalog is really. I forgot to ask her to send me a catalog when I wrote her an email about it, and I said send me some. She goes, well, I send out 2 with every order, so you get one for you and one for somebody else. And their catalog is super, super organized and very easy to read, and describes what they make and how it works and everything like that. And then they have the suggested dosage. So thank you, Jane, if you ever watch this. But she suggested, before she knew I had a problem with alcohol in the tinctures, she said that she would suggest doing the Clarkia and the Vermicide at the same time. So she said, do this one every like 2 weeks. What is it? 2 weeks on, 3 times a day. Let's see. Yeah. Do every 2 weeks, but 1 week it breaks. So it's similar to most of the other Parasite protocols where you do 2 weeks on, a week off, 2 weeks on. And so she suggested to do that with the Clarkia, 2 weeks on, a week off, 2 weeks on. And then she said at the same time, you could do this Vermicide, but do it all the time. Like, don't take a break. And so I was really excited and I was going ahead to order them. And then I realized that they are in alcohol. And I've shared, I just can't do alcohol. I like, my tongue swells up. So she suggested, I had not had anybody suggest this to me before, but she suggested that I boil water and I put the drops in water and let the alcohol evaporate out and then drink it. So I did that, but it is super alcohol-y and it really irritated. So I was trying to avoid it getting in my mouth and see if I could get it in the gut and not cause a problem in my mouth. So I would let it cool and then I would just kind of chug it down without it touching in my mouth very much, kind of guzzle it. But then I was having some stomach issues, really bad, like cramping. And I felt like the alcohol was irritating my entire digestive tract and not just my mouth, which it would. But I always do this. I always try it anyway. And I try and see if it will work. And I was very sad. And I didn't necessarily feel any die-off when I was doing it. Like, it wasn't like an immediate, oh, I feel so much better, because I think what happened is it was making them burrow again. And that's why I felt it in the back of the shoulder blade. And I had one, I think I was talking about, it was in my hip, like, and I could feel it down in my hip joint, but like all the way up. So it was like at least 10 inches. But the one I sent in was 8 inches. So it could easily be 12 inches. I know a lot of worms can get big like that, but it takes over 6 months. When I was reading about the other types of hookworm or threadworm, whatever, threadworms are really small, so but they said it takes like 6 months for them to get really large. So I think that I've had some really long ones because I can feel them burrowing down my spine and in my joints, and like that's where they hurt the most. Like the other night I was laying in bed and I had my arm up like under the pillow and I could feel it. Like I pinched it somehow and it was freaking out because I guess when I moved it, it got pinched between the bone or something. And so it was freaking out. Like I could feel really sharp pains. As long as I kept my arm in that position, when I move it down, it would be fine. I wouldn't feel anything. But if I put it back up, it was freaking out until it got out of the area. But it was burrowing away from the digestive tract where I was taking this. And so I wasn't really sure it was working. I stopped taking it because it was having so much digestive problems. So I started, so I stopped taking it, but today I started having that cough, the dry cough, where they are when they've hatched and they've burned through the lungs. So I know that, dang it, it killed them off, at least in the gut, and they were burrowing away from the gut. And so I know it was working to some extent, but I was having so much digestive problems with the alcohol that it wasn't working. But I'm still happy because I heard about this quassia. I'm probably saying it wrong, but I have tried all these other things. So I've tried the green tea and the cloves and not the green tea, the green walnut, and the black walnut. And I've tried wormwood, but I haven't tried the Artemisia wormwood that specifically. Like I've tried it in a lot of products. So what I'm thinking is I'm going to order these separately in capsules and take them in capsules instead of in a tincture form, because I just can't do the tincture. But I never have researched or taken this one unless it's under a different name, but I haven't taken the time to look it up and research it. So I'm glad that I found this, because I think I might try that one with these other ones and see if it works. Okay. Okay, I'm just reading up, catching up with you guys. I don't know if they are or they aren't contagious in the home. I think that I know, like I believe, I can't say for a fact because it hasn't been studied. So I believe, and I know from being with my kids in my house, when one of my girls, we have robes. I've done robes for years. They would use the same robe because I was going through a million towels. My kids shower every night before they'd go to bed. So they were clean to go to bed. And I made them robes so that they wouldn't share each other's towels or robes or whatever. So as long as they would do that, they were okay. But the hand towels would be wet. And then when somebody else would use the hand towels, the person who had the rash, like it would spread to somebody else and they'd get the rash through the hand towels. So I stopped using hand towels. But then one of my daughters came to visit and she was using her sister's robe. The daughter, like, I think they all have it. I can't prove that they all have it, but I think they all have it because when they run, a lot of them cough up blood when they're running, which is from the lung, which is the burrowing thing. So when they would, sorry, I'm going to shift in my chair. When they, one of them used the other one's robe to dry her hands and she got the rash. So I think that you can get it through wet clothing. Like when I would go to a lake with my child and I would hold my child on my lap while we were boating, with a towel and they were wet and I would get a rash wherever my skin touched their skin. So I do think they are contagious through wet things. And I had a guy contact me this last week who is in a group of people who have gotten it from sexually transmission. So he believes that he gave it to his partner and her child through sex. But I told him in my comment back to him that he shouldn't beat himself up because yes, I do think it's probably transferable through spit because I do feel them in my mouth and you guys obviously feel them in your mouth and your nose and your ears and whatever. So if they're there, they're going to be in other places. And if you're kissing somebody and they're in your mouth, I do believe you can transmit them that way. I can't prove it, but I do believe that. I do believe you transfer them from wet clothing, not just towels, but like my daughters will wear t-shirts and their hair is really long and it will get their t-shirts wet. And then we'll cuddle and watch a movie or something. You can get a rash from the wet because they come out in the scalp and the hair when you shower and it's wet. So I think that that's a way that they're transferred. I don't know that when they come out and they're in the worm form in the air, if you breathe them in, if that would affect your lungs, because I do think they need to go through that nematode burrow process. I don't think like if you just swallow a worm in the air that maybe that it could affect your lungs. I don't know. I don't necessarily think so, or I wouldn't probably have anybody in my home, but I believe everybody around here has them anyway, because if I have them in my home, then they're in the air outside anyway, because I think they came from the cats pooping in the garden anyway. So if they're in the garden vegetables, because I saw a video on YouTube where a guy it rained and the tomatoes were wet and the worms were coming out of the tomato and then they were taking air. And so I do think that they are in the air and I think they'll be studied in the air, but I don't know that you can get them from the worms that are in the air is the only thing. I think they have to be in the nematode form to burrow in and then because they have that life cycle, just like hookworm. Usually you get hookworm from them burrowing in through your skin. And obviously threadworm is that way as well. They have that 3-phase life cycle. So I think it's when they're egg form in you or they're in the nematode form, they burrow in. That's, but I also do believe you eat them in, because that's where they lay the eggs and the nematodes is in the wet vegetables and fruit, I believe. Because in the 2 cases that I read about, well, there's been a few cases in Asia, excuse me, and a few cases in Asia, they were eating fresh garden fruit and vegetables. And I am 99% sure that's where I got it from, is the neighbor cats. In fact, while we've been visiting, the cats coming out of my backyard and going to the neighbor's house, they don't have a litter box and they don't keep them in the house and they don't have a place for them to sleep, the neighbor's cats. They just have them as outdoor cats and they feed them. That's all they do. They don't worm them. They don't put a litter box. They don't have a place for them to sleep. So they sleep on my back porch because it's the door jam and stuff. So I have videos about that or posts about that. But they use my whole garden area as a litter box, even my front and my backyard. And so I've been taking measures, trying different things. and sharing on videos what I use to try and keep them down. But I think they're in the garden area. And so when you garden, they get in the fruit and vegetables like cucumbers and watermelons. And in fact, I bought some watermelon this week, and I think that also is contributing. I think they soak their watermelons in Mexico to make them heavier so they get a better per pound for them. And I think that the parasites are burrowing in that situation with the water because that they like water. And that's just, once again, that's just me thinking that, because I had really, really bad reactions when I ate certain brands of watermelon and would have vertigo really, really bad. And I fell a couple times last summer or the summer before because of that. So I stopped eating it for that brand ever. And then I tried one again this week, and I do think that it may be the same thing. It's from Mexico as well. So I'm just going to stop eating that. Because I do, the last 2 weeks, I've woken up at night not being able to breathe and then having that cough. In fact, this morning I was coughing so bad. I lead the music at church. I couldn't even sing. I was just mouthing it. And I took thieves oil in my mouth and swished it twice before I went up to do the music because I just was coughing so bad. My eyes were watering. I couldn't stop at that dry cough when they're burrowing out in the back of the throat. So anyway, there's that. But I wanted to share that with you, that was what protocol she suggested. So if you can do alcohol tinctures, you may want to try this. The company is Barlow Herbal. I do think it was helping a little bit with the parasites, but with my alcohol problems, I can't use it. So anyway, it's called the Clarkia 100, and it's Hilda Clark's protocol for that. And then the vermicide treats Giardia and some other ones. So I wonder if this would take care of the secondary infection. And that's what she suggested. But because I have the alcohol problem where I can't do the types of alcohol they use to get the herbs out, I wasn't able to tolerate it very well. I am going to try it once again. This is what I always do. I try it once, see if that was the cause. And I thought maybe something else was causing my digestive problems like the watermelon. So I've gone off it for a few days, and I'm going to start taking it again tomorrow for a couple of days and see if that boiling it in water or everything works. But it does taste really bad because of that alcohol. To me, I react really badly to that alcohol smell and taste. But I'll try it again. And if my stomach goes back to being really upset, I'll know that it was this, but I wanted to share it because I really think it could work for somebody. So you might want to try that. Okay. Also, I went to visit my dad, and he has started to have Parkinson's symptoms in his arm, shaking his right arm. And he's been fighting with these symptoms for a while, which makes me really sad. But I still think there's a link between Parkinson's and this parasite. And he's having, so like the teeth are kind of dark on the one side, and his right arm has been shaking kind of like a Parkinsonian shake. And my father's older, but he's always been in really good health and really good things. But I think it's been, and he hasn't been able to keep weight on. He's got too much testosterone, which is, for men, it makes him thinner, but for women, it makes him fatter and have a beard. So I wanted to reiterate that I really do think it has to do with Parkinson's symptoms and causing Parkinson's. And there's different kinds of Parkinson type situations in different parts of the world, reading up on that. So I thought that was pretty interesting. So I just wanted to reiterate that. So let me catch up. Yeah. Oh, I wanted to share that the cotton ear things. We're talking about GMOs and airborne. And so when I started researching the cotton Q-tips to see if the parasites could be in them, somebody also mentioned the suicide rate of the farmers in India. And when I started researching that, the farmers in India are killing themselves at a rate of like 1 every 4 minutes or something crazy. And then the farmers in Europe are killing themselves like, let's see, they're killing once every 4 hours or 4 days. And then the other one was like, I'd have to go back and watch it, but like once a week or once every 4 days or something. So I think it was once every 4 hours and once every 4 days. And then the US has having an increase in suicide in farmers. And so, but it's so significant in the cotton farmers. And so I think that they probably used some kind of a spray, nematode spray on the crops, and then the farmers got infected and they're all committing suicide. So I do believe that that person that shared that the parasites were in the cotton balls and the Q-tips could be correct. I think the eggs could be in them, and so when we're using the cotton balls and that, they are causing a problem. So I did research that, the cotton ball thing, and then I found the farmer suicide thing. So and I do share on other videos where I contacted a woman whose husband committed suicide in the US, and then she sent me to a researcher, reporter who was researching it. And then the government has been giving grants to help promote farmer well-being because farmers are committing suicide. So I really do believe that this parasite is causing the problem with the farmers and causing a problem with the cotton. So there's that. Yeah, I do think it's in the soil. And I think we can eat it. It's funny because I have a lot of people say, "Oh, you got it because you eat sushi or you eat fish because there's parasites in the fish and it's a water parasite." And then I have other people who say it's because I eat pork. And I just laugh because I don't think it has anything to do with the meat that I'm eating. Maybe some types of parasites, I do agree there are parasites that you can get from those things. So don't get me wrong, but I don't think this parasite is from the meat. I think this parasite is from the soil, from the animals, from the fruit and vegetables that I'm eating. So I can eat as healthy as I want as far as fruits and vegetables, and it's still causing a problem. So, but that's typically what I can digest the best is fruits and vegetables. But I do eat the fish because I'm trying to get the omegas and the D and all that. So anyway, I think I've said everything. Yeah, the hyperinfection, I do believe that. And everybody has parasites, but schedule for live chats. I'm really horrible about this, and I did try and schedule it on Sundays is best for me because I'm not working in the yard. Usually I work in the yard until dark, and I'm usually sweaty and gross and crawling around on my knees weeding or something, and so I don't do live chats. And then it's dark at 9, and then I shower and I'm working on my blog and things. So I don't know what time is the best for people. I would hope that people write things, but I just shared, I don't think most of my viewers write comments or whatever. And so when would be a good time for you guys to do live chats? So just catching up. Yeah, I think the diatomaceous earth will help in a lot of ways if they're in the gut. But the reason I thought this one might work is because it made them is they were burrowing out. I could feel them going in my arm. I felt them burrowing in the back of my shoulder blade, and I felt them burrowing away. So I don't know. I do believe that I will find a cure, though. I had a dream recently where I just took a stab in the dark. Literally, I was like stabbing the parasite, and I killed it. But I had to do whatever I did 3 times. So like I didn't get the answer. I didn't get the cure, but I did get a dream that I did cure it. And I've always believed that I would cure it. But that dream made me feel good because all along I share in all my other videos that I've had dreams about this and kind of guidance as to what I'm supposed to do about it. But I did have that dream that I stabbed it and killed it 3 times, but I was literally taking a stab in the dark at it. I couldn't see it, but I stabbed it and it died, but I had to do it 3 different times in order to get rid of it out of my system. And so I really feel like, and like when I've prayed and everything, that I needed to experience all the symptoms so that I could share with other people, yeah, that is a symptom, and that I can share what I've tried so that other people don't have to take thousands of dollars worth. Like I've spent over $100,000 on trying albendazole, ivermectin, mebendazole. I think mebendazole. Somebody was asking about pyrantel, what's the name of it? Pyrantel. I'm thinking pyrectin, but that's not the right term. It's not the right word. Anyway, it's been a while since I've tried any of those because we tried those all really heavy at the beginning and none of them worked, except pyrantel did drive them out, but it was so painful I haven't taken it again. And I keep thinking, maybe I should try that again. But then I remember the pain of them burrowing all onto my fingertips. And then I had white marks that had to grow out from that. Oh, it was so painful. I would never do that to anybody else. 9 a.m. on Sundays, not sure, but 9 or 9:30. Are you talking PM or AM New Mexico time? Yeah, isn't it crazy how much money you can spend on this? Like, I've tried probably 7 different online medications, like Parasite blends or local ones that I could get at the health food store. And I've tried all of the medical prescription ones that are like crazy prescription expensive. And I've actually tried like some animal ones. I won't share that. I'm saying that I haven't actually talked about those online because they're only available in animals. So, but if they don't work, I'm not gonna, I mean, it obviously didn't work. So, but I didn't want to share that because I didn't want people to try them. But it's been awful. So yeah, I've spent a lot of money on this, and it keeps me broke. Somebody said I should start a fund me page or something, but I think most people that have this are probably broke because they've been spending so much money on trying to cure it, and you don't feel good enough to work full time, or you're just tired. So I'm just trying to figure it out, and hopefully the cure will be something cheap. hopefully it'll be just some kind of weird thing. So okay, 9:30 p.m. So if I started them at 9 on Sundays, maybe that work. But I only have 2 or 3 people on, and I'm okay with that because a lot of people watch them later. But I always I thought maybe I should just not do any live, because if I say something or whatever, I can't erase it, and I don't have it in my possession when I do it live. It's up there, but it's so much easier for me to do it live because I don't have really good internet, and it takes me all night long to upload a couple of minute videos. So when I do a long video, it takes me a day to upload it. So that's why I do these updates live, so that I don't have to take the time to upload them, and I can just hit make it public. So, all right, I will try doing it a little later on Sunday evenings then, and see if that works better for people. Not that I think I have a lot of answers. It sounds like you guys are trying everything I'm trying. And yay, we're all trying it together. But that's why I'm sharing what I'm sharing, because I don't want people to have to spend a lot of money on trying things that aren't working for anybody. So if you guys share that it's not working for you, and I share that it's not working for me, that might save people a lot of money. And if you're taking a lot of Benzodol and ivermectin, I would say be careful, because I used a ton of that at the beginning on this, and I did all different time frames, like every 4 days, every 3 days, every week, and I tried different dosages, and I alternated them. So I take one and then I take the other, and then I would alternate them. And it really is taxing on your liver. Benzodol is really, really hard on your liver. So I would say be careful when you're taking things. If it doesn't work immediately for you and you aren't feeling, it might be killing off the parasite on the parasite, but if it's not killing off the original parasite, you're just going to have to take it forever. And that can't be good for your body. So just be careful taking those things that can build up or cause toxicity in your system and your liver. So just be careful. I would hate for anybody to, you're already going through hell with this parasite anyway. I would hate for you to have liver damage or other problems because of it. So you just be really careful. You know what, Sharon? That's why I think a lot of the people that watch my YouTube channel don't go live and they don't write comments, is because they don't want their name to show. Why don't you start a YouTube channel? You can have multiple YouTube channels. I have a personal YouTube channel for my family, and then I have The Secret is Gratitude. So why don't you start a separate one that you can comment anonymously and visit anonymously, so that you're not, and they can be linked to the same YouTube Google account. So I have several Google accounts because I want to keep myself private. So I have the Secret is Gratitude blog Google account, And I also have, my regular Google account, and then I have my personal YouTube and The Secret is Gratitude YouTube. So, if there's visitors or watchers or subscribers that want to keep themselves private, just set up a separate YouTube account just for this, and then you can share and ask questions and not be embarrassed. And I said that at the beginning. I really truly believe that that's why people don't come on live and watch live. I have a lot of people that watch them over the next week. Like, it'll jump up, like I'll have 2 or 3 on or none on or whatever. And then as soon as it goes live, becomes a video, a lot of people will watch it. But nobody comments. They're afraid to comment because they don't want people to see their name. So I really think that people should just, you could make your name Parasite 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and we could have 5 million people that have a Parasite. They can all be Parasite and a number, or a Parasite and a name. Not that I'd want to hook you with parasites. I'm hoping we all get rid of them, and then we don't have any links to parasites at all. So, but that's why I'm having a hard time with The Secret is Gratitude being the parasite channel, because I don't want everybody associating the gratitude and with parasites. So I've been working on my webpage, doing it on Wix, but I need to purchase a name, and I shared on one of the other videos. I've been struggling with what name to call it, but maybe you guys will share. My daughter doesn't think I should call it the Kraken, but I know people would remember that. If I say, go check out kraken.com, krakeninfo.com, they would be able to remember it and be able to find it. But she's like, you're just giving it another name and it's deleting it. But I wrote, so then I thought, if I did horsehairinhumans.com. So maybe that they could remember that. So that's where I'm leaning. I think maybe doing a Horsehair Humans or something like that webpage, or is the name of the webpage, so that people can find it. But maybe you guys could write in the comments and share with me if you think krakeninfo.com is better than horsehairinhumans.com. I don't know. That's part of the reason I haven't published the page. I'm still putting a few things on it, but I just am struggling with what to call it. And that's why I haven't published the page yet, because I don't have a name. So anyway, I'm glad you guys got on and you wrote things and are sharing. So if you're asking me, I don't think I have strongyloides because I was tested and it was negative. But then again, the test isn't really conclusive for that. But I really feel that it's this horsehair parasite that I was diagnosed with. I mean, I can feel them very long, and horsehair, the threadworm is usually, I don't know, smaller, but they have such similar life cycles. I'm almost wondering if some company trying to make a pesticide took the Nematomorpha genetics and linked it with the strongyloides genetics somehow, or made it into a form that humans could get. I don't know. I don't know, because it just seems like it's just so prevalent and so many people are writing me. So I really feel like there's something to it. And when I was doing research, I remembered back, I actually ordered some nematodes and let them loose in my yard. So I may have caused this whole problem, because I had grasshoppers so bad in my yard when we first moved here. And so years back, I bought some from a natural yard care company. I bought a thing of nematodes, and it came in a package, and you just open it up and put some water in it and sprinkle it around your yard. So I could have caused this whole problem for my in buying those nematodes online. So I don't know. I don't know what causes it. I don't know what's caused it. I obviously, that's in Asia, in lots of different countries, South Korea, Japan, and one other one. There's one other one that I've read about situations. So I really think it's I do think it's probably been in humans. I just don't think it was as prevalent as it is now because we ship our food. I mean, we're getting food from all over the country. I buy mostly what I eat is fruit and vegetables. So, and then the fish is farmed or whatever, but mostly what I eat is shipped in from other places. And so I think it's in the food sources and we're just transporting it to everybody. So yeah, the doctors aren't trained. You know, in nursing school, we had like this on parasites and this on natural medications and this on mental health. I mean, I did do a psych rotation and a couple different psych rotations, and I did do, but they just don't have the. It's not a well-known thing. I mean, there's just so many different types. I mean, Horsehair Nematomorpha has over 2,000 species just in that worm type. And so there's just no way medical science can keep up. I mean, you'd be in medical school for 90 years trying to learn them all. So it's hard. It's really hard, you know, and doctors did. I mean, I was a thin. I mean, I was the size I was in high school in 9th grade was what I was right before I got this. After my divorce, I've always been able to get right back to my thin self. And so I worked after I had my kids, and the doctors and nurses knew me that way. And when I went to visit my doctor that delivered my 4th child, I used to work with him regularly. He didn't recognize me. Like, I've gained so much weight and I've got aged so much because of this parasite that he didn't even recognize me. So I just think he thought I was. I mean, you gain weight and you look like you've let yourself go, and it doesn't matter how much you exercise or diet, you just gain weight because your body is in starvation from these parasites. So it's interesting. I think it's really hard for the doctors. And I'm just grateful that my current doctor, it's funny, I actually purchased my home from this doctor. So he's known me as long as anybody has in the town I live in, and knew that I worked at the hospital with him, and I knew his wife fairly well. We worked at the hospital. She was also a nurse. So, and he delivered my youngest child. So he knew that, that I wasn't crazy. And so he actually would see the worms and send them in. And we kept sending him in. So I was grateful that he believed me and helped me with this. He wasn't my current doctor at that point. It was the other one that I went to, but he had, seen me for that. So I know, isn't it scary when you see someone that, yeah, I was at a store and I could see these white bumps on women, and I could see them under skin. So like I kind of pop them and get them out. Like, so that's why I have the dots on my arm. But there was a woman who kept having pneumonia. I'm answering a question. She says, I can see them in people standing in a line at the grocery store, for instance. And or a rash. I see the rash on people. Sometimes they'll be wearing shorts and it will be on their ankles, and I'll see that rash, that kind of a dry, red, flaky rash that I had on my hands for so long. And because of the things I've shared that I use on my hands, they're pretty good. They're a little dry right now, but every night I put on the that antifungal cream, and I put on oil, some kind of oil on top of that, and sometimes I'll even put like a Vaseline or an A&D or a bag balm or veterinary balm on top of that, just so my hands don't get that rash and they aren't dry anymore. Keeps them out of my hands. This woman kept having pneumonia, and she had those little white dots all over her, and she kept explaining that she was talking to me about how many times she's had pneumonia and the lung problems that she has. And I shared with her, gave her a card to my blog and said, I think you might have this parasite. It's awful, but if you see somebody in the store and they have it, send them to my blog on my YouTube channel. If you think that it might help them. I've learned that it's better that people think I'm crazy and they learn the truth than they don't think I have it, or that they don't know that they have it. Because it could maybe save them if I could find a cure and we could or if somebody finds a cure and shares it with me. I'm not saying I got to be the one to find the cure, but if you can, we can find a cure and get it out there that people can get cured. But I think a test for this would be super easy, because if you soak your hand in water for a minute and then they spin it down, I think you would see them. If you, I think if they dug out after the peroxide, or they did a protein test, they could do even a mouth swab at some point, or, I don't know. I think it would be really easy for them to figure it out. If you look at people back in their necks and they all have those sores on there, I don't know. I think actually my thinking is the fastest and easiest would be to put some saline down in their left lung and do a suction, and just find some nematode. Well, they would be in the second phase in the lung. Look for them in the lung. I think that would be a super easy test for these. If they don't figure out a protein test, that could be the first way they could find it. But then if they did a protein assay where they would just do a blood test, then they would know that you have it. So anyway, yeah, a lot of people have the stomach problems, the burrowing, and it's interesting because as I was reading about the vitamin D thing that I started talking about at the beginning, I'm sorry, I'm reading the comments and I'm not sharing what the comment is. She was talking about people and having digestive problems, and she wanted to share that she thought they might have this parasite. I believe that a lot of people's problems with their digestive tract is this parasite, and especially when I hear them do the hiccup thing. I was doing something with somebody the other day and they did the kind of hiccup thing that happens when they're burrowing out. So they eat something, you eat something they don't like, and then you do that weird hiccup thing. But I didn't dare say anything to them because I don't have a cure and it kind of freaks them out. So I didn't say anything. I don't always say something either, especially if there's somebody close to me, because it just makes them crazy. They just freak out. But anyway, people, the burrowing in and out does cause problems. And so when I was researching that vitamin D situation, it was talking about how a lot of people that have vitamin D deficiency have digestive issues, and they don't digest foods very well, and that's why they are not assimilating the vitamin D, even if they're taking the vitamin D. So I thought that was kind of interesting. So I'm going to keep researching the vitamin D thing, because I do believe that it's part of the problem with the suicide rates and the some of the other health issues. But my girlfriend, like I said, she looked great. She'd lost weight. She felt better. She was taking that prescription vitamin D2, along with the multivitamin. So I'm going to look into that a little bit more, because of the depression, suicide, anxiety symptoms. It seems like we had another suicide last week here, a 15-year-old girl. It's like every 2 weeks or so we have a suicide. And my daughter and I walked around the cemetery on Memorial Day, and I was sad because there's so many people, young people there. My neighbor's grandson committed suicide a couple months back, and they had a stormtrooper out by his grave. It was Memorial Day. It was just so sad. Like, just so sad. And the sadder part is he didn't show any indications. He just was on a family walk, and then he committed suicide right after that. And they don't know why. Like, he didn't have any indications or anything. So it's kind of sad. So yes, I do believe she writes, most diseases are probably from parasites. I believe that a lot of the situations, like I said, Parkinson's and MS, I think a lot of them are based on this. Heart problems. Oh gosh, I forgot to mention, I have had the worst burrowing in my heart in the last 2 weeks. And I think it could have been this stuff driving them away. And I don't know that I took enough when I was boiling it off. I don't know how much boiled out. I don't know if I was taking enough dose because I'm heavy. But anyway, I don't know. I just thought I'd mention it and share the company because it seemed like they were super helpful. And obviously they've been around for 50 years or something. Their products work. They have a lot of interesting products in there. I wish I could try them without the alcohol. You guys, thank you so much for staying and watching and asking questions and sharing your suggestions. I'm going to go through and read all of them again. I think I may have missed some. So, yeah. You know, it was interesting. I don't know that I want to share this, but I think I will just for this situation. I have, my mother had this at the end, and I shared that she went a little bit loony at the end. She just hoarded things, and she didn't always, like when we were growing up, she was a super good mother. But as the parasite got worse, she got a little bit kind of forgetful and crazy, and it was awful. And my my uncle on one side is having a lot of the symptoms that my neighbors have had with the mind fog. And I think the only reason mine is okay is because I've been doing the peroxide in my hair and the silver and the thieves in my mouth and the silver in my eyes. And so I think I've kept it out of my brain more than my neighbors. And so all of my neighbors, on the exact neighbors on this side of the street with me, have all and a neighbor just across that have lived here long enough have all gone Alzheimer-y. They, you know, that they can remember, like they know what they want to say, like the word is there, but it's just not coming out. And I've had that problem, and you guys probably have noticed it if you watch my videos. And then they pass away with just this mind thing. And my uncle is doing that. You can see that he wants to say like what he knows what he wants to say, but he just can't get it out. And he's worked with horses his whole life. And so I think he probably has it. And he got really thin, just like my father. And that's my dad's brother. And my dad's sister had all the bladder problems and the digestive problems. And she also had the mind symptoms at the end of her life and then passed away. My mother, so that's my dad's side. It's my mother's side. Hi, welcome, Megan. Yeah, we're with you, Megan. You probably do, and we're with you. So my aunt, let's see. So my mother was doing the mind symptoms, and then I gave her the antibiotic for a month for a sore that infected toe and a sore on the roof of her mouth. And then she got clear, and she was the mother that I grew up with, and she was kind and sweet and helpful and not selfish and really a different person. So I think that this parasite does affect the brain. Like I said, they've studied the cat lady and realizes that there's change to her chemicals in the brain. And I think that's why they do the hoarding and the mind symptoms. So I seen that. And then my mother's brother has been kind of, I don't want to say crazy. He's just very eccentric and unique. And I think that he's been affected. And then I have a couple siblings who can't function as far as like holding a job and remembering things. Like if you say, hey, would you call me? He goes, you have to text me and remind me. I can't remember that. And so I know that it affects people differently, but always kind of similar. So like it affects their memory and their process to complete a sentence. Like my mother would start on a story and end up on 14 different stories and never finish the first story. And I find myself doing that, and I ramble a lot on these videos. And so I'm really sorry that I do that, but I think it's part of the process with this parasite. So I do think it really does affect the brain. And then people think you're crazy because you are in a way, but you know, we're doing our best. So I think if you can keep them out of your brain and the best you can, everybody will have bleach blonde hair next time I do a video. We'll go around with bleach blonde hair and dye it every 2 weeks so we can have clear thought processes. Thank you so much, Megan. I have had the last week since I did my hate video, the one about the haters, I have had so many people sending me love and really sweet comments, people who don't normally comment. And they have said, just because I want you to know that you're helping me, but I don't normally comment I don't normally comment, but I want you to know you're helping me. And that really means a lot because sometimes I wonder, like, does anybody care? Like, am I really wasting my time with this? Are they just watching because they think I'm crazy? And like I said, I admit on every video, yep, okay. But thank you. It really means a lot to me. You got me almost in tears over here because I really felt the love the last week or so. So thank you. Oh, I'm glad you're doing better, Tammy, with the brain fog. Yeah, and Sharon. Yeah, lots of brain fog. But I really, it sounds awful, but the peroxiding my hair has really helped, and the silver. I'm almost wondering if you could just spray peroxide on your hair in the shower, like as a final rinse or something. And after, I don't think if you put peroxide in the shampoos or conditioners, it would be good. But maybe if you just sprayed it on, you'd have to protect your eyes. But if you sprayed it in your hair, I haven't tried that. So maybe I'll try that. You do, Megan. How does it help keep them out of your brain? Megan says she saturates her hair every day with it. So I'm grateful that I found peroxide, and I'm grateful that I know that the soaps work, but I've been really cautious because it kills the normal flora, and then you end up with you can end up with fungal infection. So you wouldn't want, like, getting fungal infection in your hair. So I wouldn't want to do it every day, but I think maybe if you just rinsed your hair every, maybe every couple of times with it, maybe. Yes, it does. In between shampoos and conditioner. Okay, so you put it in between the shampoo and conditioner. So that's good. I'm glad I brought that up then. So that's good. Yes, Zeke, welcome. I actually have a ECAC recipe on my channel, and I had a breast lump, and it spread to my other breast, and it was so painful that I couldn't hug my kids, and I couldn't, if I bumped into something, I would like jump in pain. I had the lump for a long time, and then it started to grow, and then like right before my divorce, my spouse could feel it, and then it got, like, after my divorce, it got really, really big and spread, and it was really horrible. So I used ECAC along with Laetril. I read a bunch of research on ECAC and where it came from, and I researched 4 or 5 different recipes for it. And I prayed for inspiration on how to make it, which herbs I should use, because there's a 5 recipe, a 5 herb recipe, a 7 herb recipe, a 12 herb recipe, and then people have different beliefs about how many herbs should be in it. Somebody did research and said if you have too many herbs, it causes problems. And other ones, the watercress that you put in at the very end, if it's boiled, it has a problem. It doesn't do well. It kind of kills it off. So you have to do that one in warm water and add it at the end. So I did research about it. I did pray about it. I did make it, and then I took it regularly, because ECAC is super, super expensive too, and all the recipes are different. And some companies that made it went out of business because the FDA went after them. And then I also had several dreams about taking, I thought it was avocados, but it was apricot pits. And I share that on a different video. You can look that up on my health playlist or on my YouTube channel, where I talk about how I learned to take it with avocado, because in the dream I was taking it with avocado. And then I researched avocado and found out that what you take avocado with, you absorb like 100 times it. And then I also felt to add the black pepper, and I didn't know why. But when you take black pepper, it helps you absorb up to 1,000, depending on the pepper. So like cayenne pepper helps you absorb more than black pepper. So when I take the Laetril, which is B vitamin, any kind of B vitamin, Laetril is a B vitamin that is only found in pits. So apricot, avocado, mango, peach, plum. And so I used to like crack open my own apricot pits or whatever, but then I ordered them at apricotpits.com. I ordered a bunch of apricot pits from them. And then I did research on other pits and realized it was in avocado pits, and it was also in mango pits and other things. So I just dehydrate those. I'll slice them, and I have videos about that as well. So I'll slice the avocados, pits and everything, and I'll dehydrate them, and then I use a coffee grinder to grind them so they're fresh ground when I actually take them. And I eat all of those with a half of an avocado with a little bit of black pepper and a little bit of cayenne. And my lumps went away. And that and I share on my video how I use the cork bottles, like the root beer kind of bottles that have the cork in them. When I make the ECAC tea, they're like dark colors, like a root beer, antique root beer bottle type of thing. So watch my ECAC recipe if you need that. But yes, ECAC does work really well, and it helps me cure that situation that I had. And I also have a family member who had a growth that they thought was a ganglioma in their vaginal area. And before she went in for surgery, I gave her some ECAC tea and had her take that, as well as the apricot pits or any kind of pit, and with the avocado. And she took it for a month before the surgery. And when they went in for the surgery, now this thing had been growing for years. It was hard, and it was getting larger, and it was scary. And so she took that ECAC for a month. And when they went in to cut it out, it was literally like dissolved in the surgeon's hand. And he couldn't believe it because he had felt it and seen it the month before. And I wish I could share that kind of stuff with the medical community, but sometimes you just can't share that kind of stuff. They just don't want to know. But it makes me sad. But yes, I have used EZAC. Renee Casey was the person who got that from a Native American. And her book is fabulous on that. Renee Casey's life story is really good. And then Laetrile, there's a book by Dr. Richards that was fabulous. He was a doctor in California that I recommend highly. So check out those videos. And that was a little bit more explanation just for you. But those books are fabulous. There's also a book about Laetrile that was done by a biochemist that I read that was really, really good. And he said he didn't understand why it was so under attack from the medical community and the government, because all it was a B vitamin, and it was curing cancer in his lab. And so he had to get 2 signatures in order to order it. He couldn't believe it. It was silly. But anyway, fabulous books. I recommend those highly. The Dr. Richards book was really interesting. It was like Renee Casey's book, because he would only treat people who were already told by the medical community there was nothing else to do and they could not be cured. And he was using Laetrile, and it worked well for him, which is B vitamin. So there's that. Okay, let's see. I tried the beginning and it ruined your hair color. Oh, the peroxide. Yeah, I bet it would. Okay, that sounds, Megan's suggesting some stuff that she's done for her hair. Okay, awesome. Hello, everybody. Hi, Melis. I think I said that right. My young kids did have this, Melis. I don't know if you go by Melissa or Melis, but they did have this, and I did not know that that's what they were having. They were having rashes on the crook of their arms, on their hands, like here. And a lot of people would say it's eczema, like here. But when I would put the diatomaceous earth and a cloth over it, it would go away. And now I know that it was the parasite. We would get it when we would touch wet things at the same time, or they'd lean against me with a wet shirt or something on, or a towel. And so now I would suggest the iodine, rubbing the iodine on the thing, and then putting diatomaceous earth over it, and then cutting a sock sleeve and putting that over it. That worked for me. I'm not telling you to do that or not do it, but yes, I did have young kids that had it, and all of my young kids have had it. And now they're older and they are having the lung symptoms when they run. They will cough up blood. Like, I've actually seen blood come out of their mouth when they've done exercises. And 3 of my daughters have shared that they taste blood when they exercise. And that's that left lung damage that I had the CAT scan and the x-rays, and that shows that on there. So you can find those on my Parasite playlist and on my blog. But yeah. Yeah, they won't make money if we find a cure. Yeah, they're making plenty of money because there's going to be a lot of people that won't know about this, and they'll just keep taking the drugs. So, but yeah, if they find a cure, that would be great, wouldn't it? And if it's cheap, it will be even better. Hi, Jenny. Okay, so she says, I can tell you that there's nothing to keep them down. They will just get less visible. Larger. Yeah, but when you kill them, their eggs hatch, and then you cause a problem. I have killed the bigger ones, and there are some stuff that kill the bigger ones, but then the eggs hatch. So I was sharing earlier in the video that I do believe that we'll find a cure. Hopefully it will be soon. But I feel like I've had this journey so that I could say, yes, those are the symptoms. Yes, that does as a situation. And I also believe that God sent me on my path. I know a lot of people don't believe in God, but you know what? I talk about it because I believe it. But so I believe that God sent me on this path because I have been a nurse. I've been a nurse for, and I still have my license. I'm still a nurse for 30 years. I've been a nurse. And I believe that I had to be a nurse before I knew about all the herbal stuff and got all these weird situations. Like, my mother had sepsis in the medical community, couldn't cure. So, I learned about colloidal silver, GSE, thieves oil, oregano, all of those things. And then my daughter had her accident, and medical science couldn't do her surgery because it was all the microfractures. So I had to learn about comfrey, which is called bone knit, which is an herbal remedy. And I created those different, I kind of came up with an ice pack, comfrey poultice, that healed her arm, and she didn't end up needing the surgery. And she's got full range of motion and function and strength. The only symptom that she had left after that, she rolled her car it spun 5 times and touched down 200 feet from the highway where she left the highway. And her arm, actually, she hit on the side twice, and her arm was completely, she couldn't use it for almost a year. But the only damage that she has left after a year, she was completely healed in a year with these compresses, was a little dead spot to her touch, but over the years it's come back. She when she'd do this, it was numb, but since then it came back. So I'm sharing those stories with you just to share with you like my path to all of the natural stuff. And then I had that lump in my breast and the Easiac tea. And then, so everything that I have come up with, all of these different cures or treatments for my family, like I learned about silver when my daughter had strep and had allergic reaction to the antibiotic. So I had to find something that would work. My mother almost died, sepsis, brain infection, ICU for 4 months, was how I learned about using the colloidal silver with the GSE, with the zinc, with the essential oils, and cured her. And then my daughter's rollover, and then now this Parasite. So I feel like God made me a nurse so that I would understand the medical community and understand how that process works, and to not judge the doctors. I know a lot of people are haters on the doctors that have this Parasite, and I always defend them. You know, you're just not taught. And it's not that a lot of doctors have this God syndrome and they can't be wrong, which is really sad. But a lot of them went into it very altruistic, wanting to help people, and they really truly want to help you, but they don't know how. They're not given the tools. So I just say, don't hate on the doctors. It's not their fault. It's like you're a plumber and then they come out with a new plumbing thing that's completely different than what you know. And it's not that it's your fault. It's just you have to learn about it. So I believe that God is helping me with this, and I will find a cure. And it's all of these things have come. I mean, all of the Leotru, all of these things were through dreams, and then I researched them. Silver, all of it. I did research before I would give my child that, you know. So I did my research on all of these things. GSE, I did a research paper on it. All of these things, I do a lot of research on it and find out about it before I'll try it, before I'll use it, because I feel like eventually medical science will catch up, and I do believe we will find a cure. But it's just, I feel like I had to have all of these experiences and all of these symptoms, because at the beginning people would say, well, do you have this symptom? And I'd say, no. Somebody was asking me a couple months back, do you have these little, feels like sand on your skin? Well, if I put oil on it, all of a sudden I do have that sand thing on my skin. But several months ago, I didn't have that. So I feel like we will figure it out, and there will be an answer. But I had to experience all of these things so that when, you know, people ask me, you know, how did you deal with this symptom? I could say, oh, that's how I dealt with that symptom. And they say, is this a symptom? And I say, oh yeah, that is a symptom. And so that I can share, and they can come to this one place and find all of it. Because I'm going to link all these to my webpage on it. Nobody commented on my webpage names. I was asking people what names I should use for my webpage. So the options right now are krakeninfo.com or horsehairinhumans.com. So share with me which ones you think would be the best. So I'm just going to catch up here. Let's see. I have nieces also that have this, and they have had stomach aches and headaches and digestion problems pretty much since the day they were born. But they do have cats. They bring in stray cats. They have always had animals, and they do have problems, but their situation has gotten worse. I have a niece that's got like a weight problem. She actually looks a lot like me as far as the weight problem and the beard growing on and the digestive problems and not being able to lose weight. And then her sisters have a lot of stomach aches and cramping and problems with, and I have to share, I haven't shared this in today's video, but I have had a lot more sharp pains all over my body, just a quick like burrow here, burrow there. And it used to be just on the skin. I would feel that hot poking, whatever, or when I would take something they didn't like. But I think my load of parasites now is so bad that I feel those sharp pains all the time. I'll wake up with a sharp pain, or I'll just be sitting somewhere and I'll have a sharp pain, and they're all over. They're the back of the eyes and the head, and like in my head, I'll feel them crawling around, and down the back of the spine, and my organs and my arms, legs, joints. It's really bad. So I do think that I had to experience them all. Let's just get rid of them. Let's do this. Let's find a cure. Yes, fingers numb. I'm glad you said that, Jenny. I have noticed, and I've shared this a lot in videos that are older. I have a sibling that's had this, I think, for a long time. She has a lot of the symptoms, and her legs will swell so bad. Her legs are numb in the morning, and I don't know what it is, but I don't sleep well at night. Everybody that I've talked to that has this has a problem sleeping at night. And when they wake up in the morning, their legs are numb and their fingertips are numb. And yes, my fingertips are numb. My legs feel tingly. When I first move after sleeping, my legs are a little bit tingly for a few minutes, and my arms are a little bit tingly because they're active. So yeah, I do have that. And this is one of those, a perfect example of one of the first guys. He actually was the one that suggested they looked like a curly Q off of a celery. When he would deal with those, he would say oh, my legs are so numb and they're tingly all the time. Well, I didn't have that symptom at that time. I mean, this was a couple of years back, but now I have it every morning. So that's a perfect example. If I would have found a cure before now, I would not have been able to say, yes, that is a symptom of it. So yes, that is a symptom. Oh, Megan, you're a nurse. Hey, bud. So you use Nix shampoo, dilute it in water in a spray bottle, and spray my hands throughout the day. It helps with the hand numbness and the pain. Oh, you know what? I have a friend that's a nurse, and his hands are so rashed. I mean, mine have never looked like his. His hands are trash. I will suggest that to him and see how that works for him. Thank you for sharing that suggestion. See, this is why I like the live chat, because then I can react and have people's input. So thank you. That's good. See. So you think I should put horse space hair? Because it's one word, technically. It's horsehair, one word, Nematomorpha, one word. Oh, wow, this is interesting. Another nurse. Well, gosh, maybe we got it from a patient. Now, I know it's from the cats and stuff in my yard. I know it is, but hyper. Is that let's see. Yeah, my heart races a lot too, Sharon. It does. Soaking my feet in water and alcohol, but they're back the next day. Alcohol, I have found, does not work as well as peroxide. My neighbor that had the rashes reoccurring once a month like I have, he would take paper towels with alcohol on them and put them on the rash where they were coming out, and he said it would just make them go to the edge of where he could take the paper towel off and you could see exactly where the alcohol had touched, because the rash would move to the sides. So I told him to try the hydrogen peroxide, and he said that worked better for him. So yeah, the peroxide works better than the alcohol. So might want to try that. I'll suggest that, because I've used the peroxide a lot of times, the peroxide soaks, but I just don't do them because it kills off too much. But maybe peroxide and water would help. I haven't tried that mix, Sharon. Thank you for bringing that up. So that could kind of spark that thought process. Maybe if we soak with peroxide, even more diluted than the 3% that comes in you can buy at Walmart, maybe it wouldn't kill off the normal flora, but it would irritate the parasites and get them out. So maybe interesting. Let's see, I've tried. So horsehair or hyper. I'm just, maybe, well, I can't do space because it's a web page. So it would have to be horsehair, one word. I could do a horse hyphen hair. But the problem is I can't take it if somebody else already has it. So I looked up kraken.com, but there's a company that sells art that's kraken.com. And I looked up kraken.org and Kraken. I looked up several different ones. I've been researching them for a while. Let's see. You used to sleep good. I know I used to sleep well as well, but I don't sleep well anymore. And people are like, why don't you just go to bed? I'm like, you don't get it. I wake up all night long, flipping and flopping and things wagging in my throat, choking me. The other night I woke up not breathing, raw, just awful. And they just kind of whip back there and other areas, which is not pleasant either. And burrowing into my shoulder blade or burrowing in my arm, or back of the eye was one of the freakiest ones. That was awful. Nobody get a cortisone shot. It causes them to get worse. Yes. Also, if you take steroid to clear out your lungs, like if you have breathing problems and you take steroid orally, it will cause them to be worse. They have done studies on hookworm and threadworm. If you take steroids at first, you breathe better, but then they actually get worse. So don't take any kind of cortisol is a steroid. So don't take any kind of steroidal breathing treatments at all if you can help it, for asthma or anything if you can help it, because it does cause them to come back with a vengeance. So let's see, I wonder at times there has been a problem with people, or is it just no? Actually, Sharon, I do believe it's been a problem, because my grandfather, he served as a missionary in the southern states, and he came back and he always had digestive problems, and he had weight problems, and he had the memory problems at the end of his life. And I do believe that he probably got them and had them, because he's had a lot of the symptoms, and then my mother had all the symptoms. And so my mother suffered with lung problems and emphysemic type breathing, and she was on oxygen at the end. She ended up with the high white count, which is a sign of this parasite. She ended up with needing blood transfusions. It was bad. And I do believe it probably has been around. But I was sharing earlier, when they transport food. So if they had them in Mexico, and there's a big problem in Mexico, it's an international world now. I in my town alone, I have seen more, and this isn't a prejudice thing. This is just saying that it's happening. Like a lot of Hispanics, and they're speaking Spanish at the stores. Every time I go to the stores, there's people speaking Spanish. And I think it's just, we are getting food from Mexico. Almost all of the produce is from like Arizona or Mexico that we eat, or California. Like those are the main growing places. And so if they had a problem there, it's no longer not there. It's like all over the West or the East where they're sending this food. And so if it's the soil is contaminated, and the melons or the cucumbers or the whatever are contaminated, then we're getting them. Like I have a video where I was eating peppers, and I look in there and there's all these live bugs in the pepper that I was eating. And I've had people comment on that video from all over saying, yeah, I have bugs in mine too. So that's just in a green pepper. If we're getting that kind of thing in a green pepper, then what could we be getting in these minute parasites in these melons and cucumbers and fruit? So I actually had a dream the other night that they were also in grapes. And why wouldn't they be? Grapes is pretty much water. So if there's a contamination and it's, in the air, in the soil, why wouldn't they be in grapes? So that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, don't take steroids if you have steroids. Don't take steroids if you have this parasite particularly. I don't know about other parasites, but at least hookworm, threadworm, and this one all have the same symptoms, and they're in your lungs and they grow in your lungs. And so if you take those inhalants, steroids, it causes them to be worse, at least in the studies that I read, the documentation I read. Iodine peroxide, but before bed, I put the hydrocortisone on areas on my arms and I have no problems at night. Really? I don't know. Maybe they don't like the hydrocortisone on the skin. Maybe you're just driving him in deeper for the night, though. The iodine will kill him, and the peroxide will also kill him. I know that. I know that from the years I've been doing it. But I'm sorry, Jenny. That's awful. They're in her car, in her house. Yeah. Tractor splash and poo. Antibiotics push them out of the lower dermis to the top because they don't like it. It looks like a totem. I think that the certain antibiotics kill off the parasite on the parasite. So I was watching a documentary. Now, I don't know if I've talked about this on the video before. There was a documentary that I watched that my chiropractor suggested on Lyme disease, and it's the second one on Lyme disease, and it was a follow-up on the documentary that they did on Lyme disease, and they were the doctors that discovered the biofilm. And it was fascinating because they did talk about like what was working and wasn't working in that, and it was really fascinating to see the spirochetes and the biofilm in the documentary. It was really interesting, but it was, and I'm trying to remember what website it was on, and I don't remember. Sorry, just Google search documentary on Lyme disease and see if you can find it. It was public for a short amount of time, and then they were going to charge for it. and he suggested I watch it, and it was very fascinating. So, peroxide made him super pissed. They hurt me. What were you taking the peroxide, or were you soaking Jenny in the peroxide? The peroxide, it makes him mad at first, but then it kills him. But I don't do the peroxide soaks anymore. I just I use iodine to kill them off. I don't soak them in the peroxide anymore because it kills off the natural flora. And that's also why I don't have the peroxide unless I'm desperate, because it also kills off the natural flora, and you don't want to get a fungal overgrowth in your lungs. So I don't recommend either of those on a regular basis. However, the iodine, I will use like a coconut oil or like a thinner oil. Castor oil is too sticky, but I will use like a coconut. There's a sports one I use too that's really like a fine oil. It's not like a goopy thick oil. And I will put a drop of iodine in that oil, and then I'll rub that on the areas, and that keeps them down as well. And then if it's too sticky, I'll put diatomaceous earth on top of it, and that really helps. A lint roller. I have not used a lint roller, but there you go. Yeah, alcohol. Jenny, I don't know if you were on when I was suggesting for the nose. My mother used, for years, like my entire life, she used Vicks Vapor Rub in her nose. So she would just get a finger and rub it on the inside of her nose at night to keep him out of her nasal, from keeping her awake and bothering her at night. And so that eucalyptus, it kind of burned, but I haven't done that, but I think that would maybe help keep him out of the nose. I don't know for sure, but so once you've used it in your nose, don't put your finger back in the Vaseline, because that would put bacteria back in it. But she would just get her hands clean, use that one and stick it in her nose and then wash. But don't ever do that for bacteria. But wait, I can't remember who the nurses are. It's like a couple. But that in my legs and ears and scalp, everywhere really, but worse in some places. Doxycycline is supposed to help with co-infections and die off. The problem with any antibiotic is it kills off your natural flora in your gut, and then you'll have yeast overgrowth, which is another problem all in itself. So I don't like taking any antibiotics if I can help it. So I typically will just use grapefruit seed extract, colloidal silver, oregano to keep the normal flora healthy. Because then when you have a yeast, you can't digest foods, and it causes digestive problems. And I already have digestive problems with the burrowing, so I've stayed away from the antibiotics. But it works for some people, and people with Lyme use antibiotics for years, and it works for them. So just do what works for you. And that's what I said. I can't use this, but I shared it because I think it could help other people. So, yeah. Oh. Sharon, I wonder if you could, for your ears, I wonder if you could, when I was little, my mother would put garlic oil in my ears. She would just open a garlic capsule when I'd have an ear infection. And I wonder if you did like a garlic oil and tried garlic oil and see if you put that in your ears at night, if it would keep them out, because they don't like garlic. I know that. So that's a suggestion. I don't know. Maybe try that. Okay, let's see. No double dipping. Yeah, no double dipping. Has anyone taken iodine orally? Yes, I have tried iodine orally. The problem with iodine orally is it is an oxidant, and it can, I learned this the hard way. It can affect your, you do take it orally, but you can't take it straight orally. You need to take it like in a drink or something. So because even in a drink, if you're taking it on a regular basis, it's an oxidant. So like the sun will oxidize your furniture, and it will eat through your leather, and it will eat through your fabrics, and it will make them not as strong. That can affect your fillings, and it can oxidize your fillings. So some of my fillings, when I was taking it regularly years ago, became loose because of the oxidation of the iodine. And so that's when I stopped taking it. But I also realized, and that was at the time where I didn't know you needed to take it with NaC or magnesium to assimilate it. So it was causing thyroid problems in me because I was taking it and it didn't have any way to assimilate it. So you can take iodine orally. There are protocols that you can take, and I have taken, I still do sometimes take it orally in drink, but I take it with the NAC and I take it with the magnesium, and I don't take it every day for that reason. So just be careful with whatever you decide to do. Like I said at the beginning, this isn't, I'm not telling anybody to do anything. I'm just making suggestions. If they want to do it, that's their thing, but that's just my experience. Let's see. Oh yeah, they're in my eyes for sure. I'm sorry that you're having that problem, Jenny. Yeah, and the cats, I wonder if you could rinse your cat in peroxide every couple of days, or just use a peroxide bottle on them and just spray their fur with peroxide every couple times a day and just spray their fur. I don't know what that would do to them. And I'm not telling you to do it. I'm just throwing stuff out there. Maybe try that. Try the garlic. Thanks. Well, you're trying to do it in your own risk. I'm teasing Sharon. Wrap electric tape and backing around your finger and tie it, and they'll start popping out in 20. Really? I have not tried that. All right, Jenny, I'm going to try that. I don't think they liked the Elmer's glue skin that I put on, and I think that would be another way. I need to do it and look under a microscope, because I think they didn't like that. Also, that it'd be interesting if you could look at the slime, if I could do a clear slime and see if we could actually see them in the slime. That would be cool. I have some clear Elmer's. I just don't know the laundry soap, the borax. Maybe I'll try making a slime out of, I don't know. I'll have to look into that. If we could make a clear slime and see if we could see them in the trails with a microscope or something. I'm going to try that, Jenny. I'm going to wrap my, I can see me, my next video, I've got packing tape all over me. I'm a mummy in packing tape. That would be really funny. That's funny. That's really gross. Some of this stuff is creeping me out. Do you guys ever notice when you're talking to somebody about the parasites, all of a sudden they're like this and they kind of back up? And then I'll bring it to their attention that they're scratching and backing up. They're like, oh, no, it's okay. And I'm like, I do the same thing. It's funny. You just automatically start scratching and back up because you don't want to be around it. That's funny. Blue Star ointment is good for the sites or the skin. For me. Interesting. Where do you buy that? I've never heard of that Blue Star ointment. Where do you get that, Zeke? I have tons of garlic, but got tired of smelling like garlic all the time. Yeah, I take garlic oil and garlic pills that are deodorized or whatever. When I had yeast really bad, I was taking those and they really worked. I couldn't take the raw garlic. My friend would just eat garlic, but she smelled so bad all the time. I'm like, I can't do that. So, yeah, I found the odor-free garlic worked really well for me with that. Or gloves, and they will come out because they're not getting oxygen. Yeah, I felt them when I'm wearing gloves, and I've got oil on my hands. I used to put I'll put the oil on my hands and maybe some essential oils, and then I put the gloves on and suffocate them that way. But for me now, I just, like I shared in the video, I use that aloe cream. It's the antifungal cream, and then I will use the iodine sometimes if they get irritated, and the castor oil on them, and it seems to work really, really well. Megan uses her roll. She uses the roller on her cats. I bet they love that. That's funny. Saran wrapped your arms and legs. Yeah, I had to use saran on my daughter when she had the comfrey poultices, and she didn't have. I didn't notice anything, but I wasn't looking either. But I did when I did that Elmer's glue thing. I do think that would be a way to look at it. Oh, I know nobody will talk to you, Megan. My girls don't want to hear it either. In fact, one of them said, well, you bring it up and then we don't want to talk to you. And I said, you know what? My son-in-law, I never bring it up in front of him ever. I just don't. It's just something I don't want him to feel uncomfortable with it. So I don't bring it up. So yeah, you do kind of have to be careful, especially since I don't have a cure. If I had a cure, I would bring it up to everybody and anybody, because why not help them? I don't care if they think I'm crazy. If it helps one person, it's worth it. That's why I do this whole stupid channel. I always thought once I cure it, I'll just delete all my videos. Oh, you get it? Okay, Zeke said he gets the Blue Star Cream at CVS and Walgreens. Thank you so much for that, Zeke. Oh, that's gross, Jenny. I know she's talking about pulling out worms. That's awful. Yeah, people do think it's crazy, but if you can get diagnosed at some point, if you pull them out, put them in. If you can get any out that are live, put them in normal saline contact solution and put them in a jar. Don't put them in a bag because they can burrow out of bags. Put them in a clear jar and take them to get diagnosed that way. But if you put them in alcohol, they'll dissolve. In fact, I read a study about that on for those that have strongyloides. Those of you that have strongyloides, they'll start to deteriorate the minute you put them in alcohol. So put them in contact solution and take them in. And a pure contact solution, not one with preservatives and stuff in it. I don't know. Maybe that would work even better. It would preserve them, but I just know that the alcohol breaks them down. So, oh no, I have not tried ivermectin with doxy. I have not tried that. I see the light flashes in my eyes. Yep. I'm sorry, I was reading Sharon's comment about the light flashes in the eyes. I had those at the beginning, and I have them all the time still, but I had actually lightning bolts that woke me up at night. Like I woke up with a lightning bolt in my eye, and he says those areas are now dead. But I think it was a parasite burrowing in. And I have an aunt and an uncle. One of them has passed away. The other one is living, but they've both had symptoms of this. One of them actually had the yellow eyes, the weight gain, the big face, the moon face, the hair growth. She had all the symptoms, and she passed away. And they both had retinal detachment, and I think that is a symptom. They both ended up with sleep apnea, which is an issue, sleep issues, health problems. I really believe that it causes all those things. Hi, Jenny. Yes, you worry about the animals. I don't touch any animals, and I hate when they're in my yard. I hate that. I used to have a dog, but no, I haven't had animals in years, and I won't get any either. Borax soaps in the tub prior to taking my shower. I have done the borax tub things, and then I take a shower afterwards as well. And I've tried all sorts of things in the tub. I really like when I grind up dried citrus peel. I dry my citrus peel, and then I grind it up into a powder, and I put that in the tub, and it kind of takes the film off, the biofilm off. Let's see. Thank you guys for that Blue Star information. I'll have to look for that. Let's see. Do we know if it's safe? Can we give this to our families? I'm afraid to go. Well, I talked about that a little bit earlier in the video, Megan, about if you can get it being in somebody's home. I think it's when you're wet. Like, I don't think if I go into somebody's home that has them, I will necessarily get them. But I think if they're wet and you're wet, it's like if you're kissing somebody maybe that has them, or your skin on wet skin contact, that I know you can get them that way, at least from my family's experience. So, but you know what? I think if you're eating the same food they're probably getting it anyway. I was talking about a guy who wrote me and said he felt that it was sexually transmitted, and he was worried about giving it to his partner and her daughter or child. I don't know if it was daughter or son. I can't remember. But I do say that if they're eating the same food, it probably came from the food or in the soil. If they're playing frisbee in the same yard or walking barefoot to get the mail or whatever, they're probably getting it from that anyway. And they did have animals, if I remember correctly. So you could be getting it from the animal. So I don't say that just because he has it worse than you have it doesn't mean that you didn't get it at the same time. It's just that he might have taken something that caused a hyperinfection. So just because your symptoms are worse than your family's doesn't mean that they don't have it. So I had to stop. And Jenny writes that she quit caring about it. And that's what I had to do. I just don't talk to him about it because it drives him crazy. So I don't talk to my kids about it. I don't do videos about it when they're around. if they want to watch, most of my kids don't subscribe to my channel. They just go on my blog and look up like family recipes for this or an activity for that. They like it more for a family history point or a recipe sharing, or how did I refinish the furniture. They'll look at those kind of videos. They don't look at this because it drives them. It really is stressful to them. They know they have it and they know there's not a cure. So it just is something that it makes them stressed, and so they don't want to hear about it. So I get that. So I think you just need to not worry about other people, and just, I mean, not that you want to give it to them, excuse me, but if I'm cooking for other people, I wear gloves. So like if I'm cooking for my bunco group, let's say, I'll put gloves on to cook the food and rinse it and cut it and wash it and everything, just to be safe. And I don't use hand towels in my kitchen. I don't use hand towels in my bathroom. So when they come, if they're using those, I don't use my public bathroom. I only use my personal bathroom. So if there's any way that they could get it out of the bathroom, it's clean. I don't use it. So there's the public bathroom, and then I use paper towels to dry hands. So I take every precaution just in case. I don't know if you can or can't, but I take precautions just in case. But I think you would have to be wet to wet, if that makes sense, like a wet hand towel. So if they came to your house and you had a hand towel in the bathroom and you dried your hands on it and then they dried their hands on it while it was still damp, yes, I think that they would get it from that. So I would just suggest using paper towel and in all of your kitchen and your bathrooms. And so when your hands are wet, you just use a paper towel. That way there's no chance of transferring it from a hand towel or a bath towel. And I only use towel. We all use our own towels, and we use them once and then they're in the wash. I don't ever use a towel or a washcloth or a hand towel more than once ever. You had a problem. Oh yeah, the Parasite. I did mention the eye things about going to a doctor, and my neighbor, who her husband had the rashes in his neckline and other things, she had the shooting stars, and she went to an eye doctor, and both the eye doctors said it was keratin floating in the eye. However, he told me, and he said threads. He said, you have these little threads in your eye. And he's like, this eye is much worse than this eye. And I said, yes, it is, because that's the eye I got him in first. So I think I was working in the soil or something and then touched my eye and got him in that eye first. So that's how that started. And they did say there were little black threads, and there was a lot of them in there, but they were keratin threads. And I said, no, I'm pretty sure it's a parasite thread, but I didn't have my diagnosis at that point. So I couldn't tell them, I know it's a parasite and they like fluid, and this is why they're in my eyeball. But I have no doubt that that was one of the first symptoms I had, was seeing shooting fast things in the sky, and in the shower I'd see shooting stars, and that was one of my first symptoms. And I never had that my whole life until I was nearly 50. So I know that's a symptom. What do I use on my eyes? And I don't think it's hereditary in the eyes either, because I've never had it. My kids have never had it, and my mother never had it. I just had it since I got the Parasite. On my eyes, I use castor oil. When they're bad, I'll just take a little bit of castor oil, because it's kind of gooey and thick, and I can feel them coming out my eyelashes, and I'll just put it on kind of goopy and thick on my eyes at night, and that has taken them out. In fact, they're pretty clear recently. I haven't had a problem with them. Every once in a while I'll get the crusties, but because I do that regularly, if I have a problem, I'll put them in there. But they've been pretty good. I do that maybe once every 2 weeks now, and I seem to be okay with that. So that's what I do, is the castor oil, because the other oils are a little too thin and they don't stay on at night. So the castor oil is a little thicker and it stays on and kind of keeps them down at night. So, Jenny says she gets flares after sundown. Let's see. I just have them all the time, but they're worse at night. I mean, I have floaties all the time and whatever. And the other time I notice them in my eyes significantly, and I've shared this in other videos, is if I damage myself. Like if I hurt somewhere, the lymphatic, like I get an adrenaline rush from an injury, like a poke, or somebody pokes me with something, or I ran into something. the parasites go faster in the eyes. And that's why I know they're alive, because they're reacting to the adrenaline and they're reacting to the situation. And that was one of the first symptoms I had. Like I would poke myself when I was sewing or something, and all of a sudden the parasites in the eye would like move really fast, and I would see shadows. And that's what the doctor told me they were, is like shadow. When something's moving across the retina, causes a shadow, or the front of the eye, it causes a shadow on the retina, and that's why I was seeing that. But they're fast moving, and that only happens when I have an adrenaline rush or an injury or something. So I know that they're alive in the eyes. So there's that. Alcohol in the corner eye skin because some live there. Ooh, no, Jenny, I wouldn't put alcohol in your eyes at all, and I wouldn't put peroxide near your eyes at all. I would suffocate them. Try some oil. That's not good. Don't do any kind of chemical like that by your eyes, because your eyes will absorb things, and you don't want to cause a problem to them. Paper towels, baby wipes, Clorox wipes. I also have an issue with Clorox. I'm sensitive to all chemicals, and so I don't use Clorox anything if I can help it. I did try soaking in a Clorox bath when somebody suggested that, and I got rashes everywhere from it. So I don't do the Clorox, and I also don't use the baby wipes. I just use paper towel. That's been pretty good for me. I have had several people. Jenny talks about getting him from a pond, her father's pond. But I have had several people say they went swimming in a lake or a pond or a river, and that's when they first started having symptoms. So I do. It's a water parasite. That totally makes sense. Catching up here. Tammy B says she got him she's got the flashes too. Put it around your eyes. I would be okay. I would probably be careful with the ivermectin around your eyes as well. Glycerin and water would probably be okay. I've also used rose water on my skin, because rose is actually really healing. So you might want to try that if it's pure rose water. Let's see. I don't like cotton balls. I use the synthetic, because I've talked about it maybe being in the cotton. So you can get synthetic cotton balls. And so I've been using those if I need cotton balls, just to make sure that I'm not getting them from the cotton balls. Yes, my eyes have gotten worse. My sister that has symptoms, and her kids all have symptoms, her eyes have gotten worse. I think they, like when you're dehydrated, especially, I think they go into the eye, and then your eye becomes blurrier for that amount of time. So you may just want to try the oil and see if that helps. Let's see. Sharon shares that I use paper. She's right. I'm going to quote her. I use paper towels also when visiting out of state now, and family thinks I'm nuts using paper towels. Oh, well, when I go visit people, I literally pack paper towels now, because I don't want to leave any residue on their hand towels. And when I go to my daughter's house, I always go to the store and buy paper towels and toilet paper, because I use paper towels every time I wash my hands, which is a million times a day with my grandkids. And so that's funny. I should invest in a paper towel company, because I do the same thing. Yeah, I've seen the charcoal masks. I haven't bought them because I just use iodine on my skin, so I haven't had a problem with that. There are a lot of people, Jenny, online on the Morgellons groups that you could maybe get on and visit with. A lot of people look on my comments on my YouTube channel. A lot of people comment on, go to this group or that group. I don't have time. I mean, I don't know if you guys look at my blog, but I am so busy trying to get my house and my yard and my kids and dealing with this and research, because I won't try anything unless I research it. So I spend a lot of time doing research, plus I'm doing that webpage, plus I'm working on my mother's book. So I really don't have the time to be on those groups, support groups, but a lot of people say that they've gotten a lot of help on those support groups. So look online and look at my channel and maybe try some of the groups that are Morgellon groups, because they have all the same symptoms. I think that most of these most of the people that have Morgellons actually have this parasite. I really believe that. Um, Megan's suggesting a face scrub at CVS that has charcoal and salicylic acid and pulls them out of the skin, and she uses that on her hands and face. And I've taken that charcoal internally, like I shared on a couple videos back, that it did help me feel less toxic, and I have felt better that way, but I didn't do anything with the parasites. I was hoping it would kill the parasites, but it didn't seem to do much that way. Cotton wipes. Yeah, I think we should all invest in a paper towel company. Let's see, they're everywhere. Oh. No, I don't use clear iodine. I use only Lugol's iodine, and I've researched all the iodines, so only use Lugol's iodine. It's bound with potassium, but if you use the iodine, make sure you watch my video where I talk about the NaC and the magnesium. Only take it if you're taking those other things, because it can cause thyroid problems. So I don't use the clear iodine. I use Lugol's iodine, which is the orange. There's a lot of different types of iodine. They're bound to different things, and the Lugol's is the less this the one your body can assimilate the best. So use the Lugol's iodine, and make sure you take NaC and magnesium. I did take activated charcoal, and it did not do anything to the parasites. It does help detox you, though. I've done several body cleanses. The one I like best is Colonex. It is a parasite cleanse, but after a couple months, it makes you go a little nuts. So I think it clears out a little too much of something. I don't know. It drains you of your necessary vitamins or something. And my daughter did the same thing. I have done it 3 or 4 times because I did feel a lot better when I did it. It didn't get rid of the parasites completely, but it did kill off a lot of them. But it's kind of a hard thing to do. You have a tea at night and it's something in the morning, and it's kind of expensive as well. But it did work really well, and my daughter felt better after it. And I've used it several times. Probably, I think I've done it 3 times, and it is really good. But it didn't cure me, but it helped. So. Let's see. So are you saying 10 p.m. for me to do the videos? I'm guessing I'll try it 9 o'clock next time and see. Let's see. Oh, it's late for you guys in the East Coast. Sorry about that. And it seems like there's a lot of people in the East Coast that have this. Maybe it's the humidity, the moisture in the air. I don't know. Sorry, Jenny, it quarantined one of your questions or one of your comments, but I'm gonna okay it. There you go. Okay, so I'll try it at 9 next time I do it. And yeah, you guys are all East Coast. I've been there. I lived there for 10 years. And my daughter's back there right now serving as a missionary. She's loving it. So we like the East Coast. Some history there. Yes. Megan says we don't sleep well, LOL. That is absolutely true. I'm a night owl. My family, and it's really sad because I think most of my siblings have this, my mother and my father. I think everybody has it. And it's really funny because I'll send an email at 2 a.m. and all of my siblings will reply. And then we all laugh because we're all up at 2 a.m. And it's crazy because we sleep better in the morning. It's not that I don't know. I need a lot of sleep, but I don't sleep well. It's always like flipping and flopping and stopping breathing and waking for parasites. And yeah. Oh, well, you guys you made my day, really, truly. And all the people who have been so sweet commenting in the last little while. And like I said, I suggested if you don't want to comment or you don't want to be on a live chat with your real name, create a fake YouTube account, Gmail account, and just Susie Q1 or something, whatever, so that you can feel like you can write it and not have people judge you. So, and I think that's why a lot of my people don't comment or answer when I ask questions, because I think they're all afraid of being judged or somebody finding out that they have this or whatever. And that is a real fear. You know, at first I didn't tell anybody. I was really nervous about it, like in my family and friends and stuff, because I didn't want them to be afraid to come to my house. I was afraid that they wouldn't want their kids around my kids or whatever. And so I just kind of, for 4 or 5 years, I just kind of fought this and kept going to doctors saying, I think I have a parasite, but I didn't really do much about it because I was kind of scared of it. But then I realized, you know, we all probably have it in this town. It's a small town, but a lot of people have the exact same health problems. And I thought, you know, if nobody's going to, I've got to do something. I want to figure it out for my kids and my grandkids. So I really feel like, I take a lot of heat from the haters, but you guys are giving me so much love that it makes it worth it. I'm so glad you chimed in, Megan, too. Thank you so much. Yeah, let's do the Secret is Gratitude support group. You go for it. Why don't you be the moderator? Start it up. I won't get mad at you for using the name. You go for it. You start up the Secret is Gratitude Facebook. I have a Secret is Gratitude. You know what? Use the Secret is Gratitude page. Oh, no, I don't want it linked with that. Let's do a Parasite page. Never mind. Don't use the Secret is Gratitude. Use the Horsehair Nematomorpha. I'll start one on Facebook. You guys can, but then you probably wouldn't want to write on the Facebook page on Facebook either, because then everybody know that you were posting. So and so just posted on Facebook about her parasites. Yeah, let's not do that. That's funny. Well, you're so sweet, Melis. Thank you. Oh, let me ask you guys, you're being so honest here. On my last video, I talked about prayer, and on other videos, I talk about God and prayer and dreams. I know that sounds crazy, but if you know me and my family, they all, I do have dreams. They do come true. I do follow promptings, and it helps a lot of people. So does it turn people off when I talk about God? Because I thought about doing an inspiration video where how I receive inspiration and how I learned to receive inspiration. It was a process that I learned. I was doing cranial sacral for my massage license. I'm a nurse first, and then I became a massage therapist, but I did massage therapy for a therapy called cranial sacral. And when I was doing the cranial sacral, I learned to let go and release issues, but I found that if I brought God into it, that people were able to let go of their issues a lot quicker. And so I started bringing God into it, and that was where I learned to feel inspiration more easily. And so I was thinking about doing a video on how I know the inspiration and how I recognize inspiration versus my own thoughts. And so I was going to talk about that on a video. Would that be something that people would be annoyed with, do you think, or they would like that? I've had some good feedback on the last video where I talk about prayer and the steps of prayer, but I think it's really hard to learn inspiration and receiving answers from God if you don't know how to pray to God. So I shared that on the last video, but I didn't really want to cross over the parasites with God videos, because I don't want people to feel like if they don't believe in God that they're having it shoved down their throat. So I kind of wanted to do a separate video about inspiration rather than having God on it, because I didn't want to offend people. But if they know me and they watch my videos, they know that a lot of this inspiration did come from dreams and God, and promptings like the huffing the peroxide or spraying my hand with peroxide. Those were both inspiration that I would never have thought of. I had a bottle of peroxide in my cupboard for 30 years. I didn't even ever use it. So I know that was inspiration. So that would be good. Let's see. You can do a closed group on Facebook, and then people can ask to join. I like that idea, Megan. That would be really good. Or it's Melis. I don't know how to say it. That's a good idea. And but then people can join. So I just don't have the time to moderate something like that. So if you guys want to do it, I'll endorse it, and more than happily let somebody moderate it if they have the time. Let's see. I'm sorry, I'm catching up. Gosh, no, Megan, thank you for sharing that. She was saying that at first she thought she had done something to get this. I think it's just part of life. We all get, if you read the Bible, Megan, Job had worms coming in and out of his skin and lost his family and everything he owned. And he didn't do anything wrong. So don't believe that. Don't think for a minute that you've done anything wrong. It's interesting. I went to my health food store, and I love the guy that owns my health food store. He is a saint. He's the first person that helped me learn about, he actually gave me my ozonator that saved my lungs when I had the black mold in my sinuses and lungs. So he's a good, God-fearing man. I really love him and his family. But anyway, I went in there, and he knows the whole situation. I've known him for years. And he said, I was reading about Job the other day, and I thought of you. I thought, that's not how I want to be known. A crazy parasite lady that reminds him of Job. I thought it was hilarious. So, let's see. So, okay. So maybe I'll do a video. Yeah, Megan, I agree. I think I'm saying, and Melissa, thank you for your comments on that as well. I think maybe I'll do a video on that inspiration, and then people don't have to hear it if they don't want to. But I find that prayer really helps me, and God does answer me. I have no doubt. I can look you in the eye. I'm looking where that God does answer prayers. He is my Heavenly Father, and I know that I would never have gotten the answers to this and the inspiration. Like I was fasting the other day, and I could talk about fasting too. Fasting is really good. Help you clear out your system, but it also brings you closer to God. And I was fasting for some inspiration the other day about a family member and a situation with that family member, and it actually does relate to the parasites. And I prayed for inspiration, and I had a dream about this person. And interestingly enough, two of my other family members, I went up to a baby shower, and they pulled me aside and said, "We want your advice. What do you think about this person in the situation?" And I was able to share the inspiration that I received in that dream and what I thought needed to happen. And I respect these men greatly. They're very spiritual men, and they both went, "Oh, wow, that is a super idea. We really think that would be a good answer to that." So I know God gives answers to prayers. So I don't want to shove it down people's throat, but I really, really think that a lot of you seem to be suffering, and I think with situations, and I think if we were all praying for answers to our own situations and then sharing them, that could give us a good, maybe bring us closer to an answer. So, it's short for Melissa. Okay. All right. Now I know how to say it. I have a family member named Melissa, and I call her Melissa, so that's perfect. Well, Megan, what do you guys think we should call the group? I can do a horsehair group. I can just call it Horsehair Group on Facebook, and I can make Megan a moderator for it so that I can still kind of be involved, but not have to be involved all the time. That would be great. You know what? I'll create a group tonight. I'll call it Horsehair and Humans Group, and then maybe that's what I'll call my my webpage. Does that work for everybody? Horsehair Group on Facebook? And then you can ask to join, and we could do that. I think we could probably work that out. Let's see, you guys are typing fast away. Oh yeah, go read about Job. He had a hard life, but he was such a righteous man that Satan said, "I bet I can turn him." And God said, "Go ahead and try." And then Satan he lost his family, he lost all of his riches, he lost his health, and he didn't turn against God. And I thought it was funny that my friend thought I'm like, I don't want to be like that. I don't want worms crawling in and out. I don't want to lose my family. So I'll take the parasite as long as I keep my wonderful family. So, No, Sarah, Sharon, you haven't done anything wrong, sweetie. It's all good. Um, and I believe, Melissa, I think we all have our own angels. I think that each one of us has specific angels that are just for us individually, and that we they know what our needs are. And when you pray, I believe when I pray to God, that He answers me through these angels, because but He's my loving Father, and I know that I have had blessings from Him directly, like that He's helped me with. But I feel most for the most part, we just have maybe grandchildren that aren't born yet, or ancestors that have gone before, that are our angels, and they're assigned to us, and they help us with our needs and our answers and everything. So yeah. Yeah. You guys are awesome. You've really made my night. This video is 2.5 hours long. I don't think anybody's going to watch the whole thing, but it's awesome. I don't think people want to use their names. Yeah, he says your names, but I don't think people want to use their names on a public forum or meeting people, because when you post something that's that public, people will see that you post that. So I think if you did a forum that was closed, that's a group, and then people could ask to join, that would be perfect. And then they can watch the videos and find out what the group is, and be in part of it. So I think that's awesome. And messenger chats would get pretty crazy, because you know what, Melissa, there are so many people that write me every day on my YouTube channel and my blog, that you wouldn't want to exclude them from your group. I think eventually there's going to be a huge group, and you guys being in at the base, I think, could really help those that are coming in a couple of years, that are asking the same questions that we've been asking for a while. So, maybe this could be jobs in the future, for forum moderators or something, if it gets big. But I think that you shouldn't make it inclusive, because exclusive, sorry, you should make it inclusive, because I think that there's going to be a lot of people that are going to need answers once we figure it out. So yeah. Well, I'm sorry, Jenny, you need a new doctor. She says my doctor wouldn't let me even look at the worms I brought her. So I think you need a new doctor. If you've got worms coming out of your body and she's not looking, get a new one. But let me warn you, when you go into a medical doctor, they're trained to be very scientific. If they can get through medical school, they are very left brain, because you have a lot of memorization, a lot of information, and you have to be very logical to get through it, because it's very regimentic. And so, I mean, they're doing stuff in there you would never want to do. It's very, very exhausting. So if they get through that, they're usually not really intuitive people. They're very scientific people. They're very left brain. So they don't want to hear all the fluff. Don't tell them you've got these things floating in and out of your eyes, and that you feel them, and they're under your skin, you feel them, because immediately they go to crazy. If you take them, just the worms, and you put them in saline, and you say, I have these worms, they came out, don't go into anything else, and just go to the new doctor and say, I'm having some symptoms. There's a person online who was diagnosed, use the word diagnosed, with this parasite through this lab. The lab was ARUP. And say, I'm wondering if we can send this in with a note saying, if they can't find it on the human database, to send it in, that they can look at the Horsehair Nematomorpha parasite, because they kept looking at the worms knowing it was a worm, but they didn't know how to diagnose it when they're smaller. So if you say that you put it in saline, which is contact solution, and you send it, ask a new doctor, take it to a new doctor, and don't say all the symptoms you're having. It overwhelms them, and then they get a little crazy. And then if you talk about all the symptoms under the skin and creeping and crawling, they can't handle it. They just need symptom, and this is the response. So don't go into the details too much. Just give them a piece of paper with the parasite name on it, and that says, if you can't find this in the human database, check this parasite out, because I have all the symptoms. And just tell them it's similar to hookworm and threadworm on that little note, and then send it in and see if you can get it diagnosed through a new doctor. I wouldn't stick with your doctor. If your doctor's not listening to you, don't stay. I went through 3 doctors before I went to this one, and they all took tests and said I had a high white count. None of them did any research on it. They all told me I was vitamin D deficient. Nobody did anything about that. One of them said I had spots on my lungs, and they didn't do anything about that. They just gave me a prescription for Vermox or Medbenzidol, or well, that one wasn't out at the time, but like Albendazole or one of those other ones, and ivermectin or something, and that's it. They didn't even test me. So check that out. Depression, suicide, and anxiety could be an iodine deficiency. It can be a vitamin D deficiency. It can be this parasite. I think it's probably all three, after doing all the research I've done. But B vitamins really help. I just, like I said, take a really good prenatal vitamin and break it down into a powder before you take it every day or every other day. And see how that helps you. And there's that iron that I suggest all the time on my videos. Try ordering some that will really help too. That iron is wonderful. That's one of the only things I take all the time is that iron, and it's wonderful. Well, yeah, Jenny, take those worms in. Get a different doctor, and don't mention anything about creeping, crawling under your skin. Don't mention anything. Just say, "Oh, these worms came out of me. Can you get them tested?" That's all I would say. Just say, I thought I maybe had a parasite, and I was looking up the symptoms online, and this lady was diagnosed with this parasite. Could we send a note in just in case, and just send it in and act like very, very minimal what you tell them. Try that. Okay, let's see. No, okay, Zeke, I'm sorry. You were sharing about that drip, and I kind of skipped past it when we were talking, and I forgot. No, I have not heard of that drip. That's interesting. Glutathione's awesome, but you would need some other vitamins to be able to absorb it and assimilate it. And glutathione helps you get rid of excess toxins and stuff in your system. And I have that problem with MTHFR that I talked about earlier in the video. But since I've started taking other things, I think I've been producing the glutathione, which is able to help get rid of things. But those are all good things. I did talk to my doctor about IV, and he gave me IV vitamin C drip, and that actually really made me feel good. It felt like my eyes, like I shared in the videos about, it's dark in the room and you don't realize that it's gotten dark because it's just gradually gotten darker, and then somebody flips the light on and you realize how dark it was. That's how the vitamin C drip made me feel. It was a large amount of, I think it was 5,000 units in 100 cc's of saline, and it really made me feel good. But my doctor was a little bit hesitant to do it again, and I don't have insurance currently, so we didn't do it again. But I did feel better, and I think I just needed to know that it would help, but it doesn't cure them. So that was interesting to know. So Zeke, would you be willing to write me an email about that drip on my The Secret is Gratitude blog at gmail.com so that I can look into that? I get overwhelmed sometimes, and when there's all these messages, I won't be able to flip through and find out what I need. So if you would write me an email, I would really appreciate that so that I can do some research on that. That would be interesting. Let's see. Yeah, everybody calls it delusional parasitosis. They all do. Dermatologists, parasite specialists, doctors, but there are doctors around who will look into it if you take in the worms. That's no delusion if you're taking in worms that you got out of your skin. So the iron, Megan, is on several of my videos. It's also on my blog. Type in on my blog, thesecretisgratitude.com, and type in natural iron source or natural iron, and it will come up. It's a company out of Utah. And it's interesting that there's so many. I wonder if this has been around for a really long time, and because there's these two companies are both out of Utah, this Barlow herb and that iron one. But that iron, I've tried iron from all over the world in different formats and natural and prescription, and that is the only one that really has helped me. So let's see. They asked for multiple samples, then avoid us and blow us off. So just hairs. Yeah, you have to, it's hard because they, a lot of times if they can't, the worms will actually look like hairs. And if they're dead, they look like hairs. But if the ones I sent in were actual, like they were moving worms, but the 8-inch one was actually dead. But they were able to identify it. I'm not quite sure why they're holding some messages for review, but something. So anyway, family doctor, infectious disease. Well, my family doctor that helped me get diagnosed referred me to a parasite specialist, and the guy was the rudest doctor I've ever met. And I've met some super rude doctors being a nurse for many years. And he spent 5 minutes with me, yelled at me, wouldn't do any testing, told me I was crazy, and wanted to give me antipsychotics. And a week later, when I got that 8-inch worm out, my doctor called him and told him off. I thought it was hilarious because my doctor actually looked at it under the lab microscope before he sent it into the lab, and he had seen them. I'd been taking in samples many times, and he's known me, like I said, he's known me as long as anybody in town because I bought his house. So he's known me for a long time. And maybe that's why he was willing to send in so many samples, because he knew me so well. So, well, I wouldn't even go to an infectious disease because they're going to shut you down because they're specialists. Just go to a family practice doctor, taking the worms in saline and just contact solution in a little glass jar, have them send it in with a little note and see what you do. Well, a lot of people are on antidepressants because of the vitamin D, iodine, all those problems, and the parasites. So I don't think that's 99% of the people that have this are probably on those. I don't know. I've been okay because I'm aware what it is and what it says, so I haven't had that problem. But also, the only time I've ever had a problem with that was when I went on the pill, and that caused yeast infections and causes depression. And so I just went off the pill and I was immediately fine. So that was like for a month or so. But I also, in my psych unit, realized that the lady that was depressed was on the same pill I was, and they were treating her with electroconvulsive therapy. I'm like, just go off the pill. You'll be fine. So I thought that was interesting. Medical science doesn't have all the answers. You have to make sure that they're like actually worms that they're sending in, because they do look like hairs. And that's why I think the people that are diagnosed with Morgellons are not having much luck. Yeah, that natural iron's awesome, Megan. It's like so good. I use it. I've been using it for probably 8 years or 10 years. But before that, you can follow my blog when I figured it out, because I was taking like vegetable iron and it was like $25 a week, and I was taking prescription or over the counter. I had both prescription and just over the counter iron pills, and they caused constipation, and it wasn't assimilating it, and I didn't have any more energy. And I take blackstrap molasses, which gives you energy, but if you take too much of it, then you get diarrhea. So I can only take that sometimes. If I start craving black licorice, I take that blackstrap molasses, and it works wonderfully. But it has to be unsulfured. If you're going to take blackstrap, make sure it's unsulfured. Let's see. Yeah, if you have a live worms, take them in. That's the best way. Let's see. Well, let's see. All right. Well, that was a long video. I think that's my longest video ever. I'm so glad I don't have to upload it. I will try and start a group. I don't know if they'll let me. It may have to be under the Secret is Gratitude umbrella. I don't know. I'll see what I can do. If not, maybe one of you guys can do it. But I'll try it and let you know next week. I'll try and do another live video next week with updates. I don't know how much I'll get done. I've got so many things I'm trying to do, and when it's nice out, I'm out working in my yard because I got to get it done. But then when it's not. I've got all these the web page and stuff I'm trying to do. Plus, I've been doing a lot of family things. So, let's see. Anyway, yeah, Sharon, try that natural iron. All right, people, thank you so much for jumping on. Thank you for sharing. And I will maybe do a separate video this week on, or maybe I don't know if or next week on how I receive inspiration and how I know it's different from my own thoughts and how I've learned how to do that. It's just a little different how I kind of learned the whole thing. But thank you very much. Hopefully this was helpful. I'm sure I don't know how many people will watch the 2 hours and 40 minutes. I just listen to things while I'm working, so I would listen to it, but that's just me. And this is boring. It's just me talking and reading comments. So that's funny. No, Jenny, I have not heard about a black stuff from Africa, but that's interesting because in the dream I had where I actually killed it, there was some black stuff. So that's interesting. But I do have some black salve. The Indian salve, what is that called? It's black salve. I do have some of that, but I don't know if that's exactly what you're talking about. But I don't think it's from Africa, the one that I have. So, and I have thought about taking that. But I talked to my chiropractor about that just last week, but I haven't had time to research that yet. So, because I was trying some other things. But anyway, awesome. Thank you guys so much. It was wonderful. And on the comments, if you know the exact name of it and could put a link, maybe Jenny, that would be awesome about that salve. That'd be great. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think thank you so much for everything. And I hope you have a blessed day tomorrow and today. Nope, tomorrow. Still, well, it's tomorrow for some of you on the East Coast. So have a blessed day today for you. And the rest of you have a blessed night. All right, we'll talk to you later.